I think a lot of it has to do with the texture of the meat and the flavor.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, May 21st, 2015. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 723.
This is No Agenda.
Celebrating Fleet Week and broadcasting live from Hell's Kitchen in New York City, FEMA Region 2. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where gray is brown, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning. Now, what did you say about brown? You got drowned in your brown.
I said where gray is brown.
Oh, is it brown is the new gray?
Overcast. It's overcast, but unlike most parts of the world, when it's overcast around here and you have that kind of what would normally be this kind of gray atmosphere, it's always kind of brown.
Oh, it's overcast in New York City,
I
too.
wake up in the morning, I see this, I look out and there's this kind of brown goo.
Okay.
Maybe my eyes are going.
I'm going to call you back. I'm overriding you to a serious degree. In fact, we'll start over again after I call you back.
You're overriding me? What does that mean?
Just trust me. Don't ask fucking questions, asshole. Just trust me.
What does overriding mean?
Don't ask questions.
I want to know.
No. Well, when you're talking and I make a sound, then you are ducted down into nothingness, which is why we couldn't really hear your opening either.
Oh, that's why you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, hold on one second. Okay. Let us try it again.
Hit it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, May 21st, 2015. Time once again for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 723.
This is No Agenda.
Celebrating Fleet Week and broadcasting live from Hell's Kitchen in New York City, FEMA Region 2. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where they're celebrating fleet enemas, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning. All right. Give the guy a second chance, and his comeback is outstanding. I didn't even know it was going to be Fleet Week this week in New York.
Yeah, it's all over the tweeters. You're not looking at your account.
No, I'm not. I'm in New York. I don't have no time to be looking at the tweeters all day.
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy sailors running around.
Hey, sailor. I happened to be on Christopher Street yesterday.
Christopher Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's downtown, right?
That's the Village, West Village.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gay sailors. Hey, sailor.
You got gum?
Wow, does that still work? Huh, I guess it does. So, yeah, I'm in the Big Apple.
It's on a whole new meaning. That's the part.
Yeah, I think I understand. Yeah.
Something to chew on.
Yeah. So I am in New York City in an Airbnb.
Oh, good.
Which is illegal now. I'm not quite sure.
Well, don't tell anybody.
Well, that's the whole. So when you sign up and everything, it still works through Airbnb and the payment still goes through them. But then your host says, well, you know, the key will be downstairs in the system, your name, the doorman. But just say your family visiting, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay.
So they're still doing it on the QT.
Yeah, very much on the QT. Yeah, and of course, these days, whenever I travel, I'm pretty much booking my lodging based upon internet connectivity. Hotels it's no longer doable.
No, they're terrible.
Yeah, and this has a Verizon Fios, so I think that's.
Oh, I think that should do the trick.
Yeah, I measured it yesterday, 50 megabits up and 50 megabits down.
I like it.
Yeah.
Symmetric.
Yeah, very much so.
No, the hotel situation is because they didn't provision for the fact that everybody in the hotel will be using the Wi-Fi. They don't even have direct lines in most of the rooms anymore. No. But they'll all be using the Wi-Fi, and if you're in the wrong corner, it's never any good.
Yeah,
And,
but none of it. I have rarely seen anything really effective. I mean, the last 3 times I was in a hotel, we wound up using the iPhone.
Right.
Which at least it worked. That's nice.
Yeah, it did work. It actually worked well.
Anyway, little overcast, but it's been cool in the city.
Well, it's overcast here, and my original opening was where gray is brown, which is what we have. We have this strange, I don't know what it is when it gets gray, especially when compared to Washington State. It's not really gray. It's kind of a brownish color. We had rain last night.
Okay, well, good. You needed rain.
Well, it was, meaningless.
Yeah. Hey, I saw a play. Let's get it all out of the way while we're at the start here. I saw the play. It's only a play.
Yes.
Which is, funny enough, it's a very meta play about a play and about a play.
Is it a farce?
It is, I think this is the kind of play, and you know me, I like musicals more than plays, but
is it a farce? A farce like a British farce?
No.
Doors opening and closing and misunderstandings everywhere.
There's a little bit of the farce, a tiny bit. It's a one scene, 2-act play. It's closing June 7th, and the reason why I wanted to see it is because of the cast, which is just outstanding. Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, F. Murray Abraham, and Stockard Channing.
Yeah.
Wasn't she Rizzo in Grease, Stockard Channing?
I don't know.
I think she was, yeah.
She's been around forever.
But it's if you're not interested in how theater works or show business, if show business is perfect because it's pretty much the dynamics between the playwright, the producer, the actor, the reviewer. I had a good time. It was nice. Very funny. Very funny. And this kid, Mika Stock, has been nominated for a Tony for his role. And he does the farce role, the door opening, closing, coming in, confusion, etc. And that's our mini review, everybody.
Outstanding.
And
man, your cultural news.
Hell yeah, everybody. There it is, right there for you.
And now back to real news.
However, I will say something new in the theater: selfie sticks in the theater.
Oh no,
it's an outrage. And before that started, before curtain rise, of course, but oh man, it's pathetic.
That is pathetic.
Everywhere, Times Square. Now, I'm here in Hell's Kitchen, so I've been crossing Times Square a lot. It's just, it's all selfie sticks. People could be, you might as well just have lightsabers. It is really effing pathetic.
It is. That is pathetic. Look at me. Oh, look at me. And now I've got a selfie stick. You just make a fool out of yourself.
Well, I can't.
Although they tend to be still group pictures. I've noticed this when I was.
Yes.
I came across the Golden Gate Bridge for some because I can't get to San Francisco, so I have to go around the Horn now because of all the construction.
The Horn, Cape Horn, the Horn of Africa.
The Horn. For me, because I'm in the East Bay, I normally just go across the Bay Bridge, but when I do that, I get stuck in all these messes, and so I'll go around the Horn, which means I go down across the Richmond San Rafael Bridge and then cut over to the Golden Gate Bridge and then go into the city, and which is expensive because the Golden Gate Bridge costs a fortune to cross. But I was coming back the same way, and I stopped. It was nice weather. It was a little foggy, so I stopped at Vista Point so I could get some photos of the Golden Gate Bridge with the fog.
Oh, it must have been selfie stick central.
Oh, my God. I've got some great pictures of people standing on the ledge, and then there's pictures of another guy taking pictures of them, and if they take one false move, down they go into an abyss.
I had a thought about this.
To their death.
Which would be a good start for the selfie stick mania. I had a thought about this as I was...
by the way, I'll post some pictures from this little
yes, please do.
Selfie stick on the next newsletter.
So I missed it last night, but I saw... some clips from the last David Letterman show. And by the way, it's not like New York was, traffic stopped because of his last show. There was no notice of the last David Letterman show in New York.
I don't see what it would be.
But I don't know if you saw it.
And I do have a couple comments.
I have a question first, or I have an observation. So I saw the final montage, which is just a very fast cut historical view of historical video and photos and guests, etc. And what I noticed is the quality of the archival material is so poor Most of it was from VHS, or this is a problem that we're entering into this phase where everybody's got their selfie sticks and we've all got our iPhones, and all of this history, all of this legacy is being captured in the cloud and on devices. If David Letterman can't even really come up with any good quality of his program, top-rated entertainment program with big networks who also don't archive, the Andy Warhol 15 minutes of fame, I think, has pretty much come true. What really is going to happen is every human being in the world will only have 15 minutes of legacy. A couple of things laying around, and you're going to be dead to the world otherwise. That's it. Your 15 minutes of who you were.
You're dead to the world. You're dead to me.
15 minutes of legacy is all you get, people. Make the best of it.
Yeah. There's a number of people that complain about this, and right now, I understand there's only maybe just a half dozen machines of RCA. I'm sorry, Ampex.
Oh, they can do the 4-inch.
The two, I guess it's 2-inch.
2-inch forehead. Yeah, 2-inch forehead.
Or is it 4-inch? I don't know how. It's big.
There's
big.
The Ampex of the
2-inch forehead with just a spinning head.
Yeah, it's just a big ass reel to reel.
Right. And those are the original videotapes were done on those giant machines. There's only a few of them left, and there's apparently years and years of tapes that they're trying to go through to digitize while they still can do it. And they know that these machines aren't going to run much longer. Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be on the big reels, those big 2-inch tape reels, that will never be put. But
even then, so they've digitized it, and then it's going to be on a professional format. And then where does it go?
Well, no, this is a problem. We know that, in fact, when I was at Tech TV, we had a digital format that they went to from making little tapes to digitizing on hard disks. And the little tapes, which I have boxes of them.
I still have boxes of DAT tapes with PCM encoded audio.
I
don't have a player for.
Well, now that we're going into this,
well, not too deep.
I have a lot of DAT tapes, and I recently just bought
a DAT player,
a Tascam,
nice
DAT player, to get these things moved over.
And then what do you do with them then? Where do you move them to? The cloud?
I'm moving them to FLAC. I think that's where right now. That's the way to go.
FLAC, FLAC. I agree. Yeah. It should probably be Ogg Vorbis and FLAC, I guess, is the formats.
Ogg Vorbis is nobody wants to use it because it sounds too weird. That's the reason.
John@curry.com.
I had the inventors of Ogg Vorbis.
John@curry.com. This is where you want to send your complaints. You're not encoding right, Dvorak. You don't know what you're talking about.
Ogg Vorbis. Always sound like a monster movie to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a outrageous situation. There's nothing we can do about it. And you're right. In fact, it's all going to be blown up, and especially when it gets smaller and smaller. Even if it's on now, there's commentary about flash memory having a limited lifespan, and
right.
In fact, even if it just sits there, apparently it loses whatever it does.
Yeah. Well, we're all doomed. I mean, I've been printing out pictures. I know you print out pictures, documents. You got to print that out. Video, I'm not so sure what to do. I think you're right. FLAC is probably a good idea, and multiple media. So even though removable, writable discs, that also has a certain shelf life, right?
Yeah.
Screw it. We're here now. While we're here, let's deconstruct the media.
Wow.
Hey, local news. I'm here in New York, so
just catch us up with New York.
Local news. This is it was on New York Channel 2, but it was a report from Bergen County High School in New Jersey, where the FBI is going out there and they're talking to the kids. Now, when I was a kid, I remember that maybe we certainly have a fireman drop by, once in a while, or maybe some kid's dad was a fireman for career day and talk about how to, be safe with matches and fire. And maybe the cop would come by and, you could touch his badge and stuff. But now the FBI is coming through the high schools, and they have a whole new message.
Well, ISIS has been known to recruit young people through social media, and that's why the FBI is going to high schools with a new message.
And today they delivered that message in Bergen County. CBS 2's Christine Sloan was there. Someone comes to the FBI and says, hey, this guy here in the front row here, he's a terrorist, he's doing all these things like that, and here's all this information.
An FBI intelligence analyst who we chose not to show on camera at Bergen Arts and Science Charter School in Hackensack, New Jersey, warning students about a new threat.
Now, how do you think these kids are going to respond to this education, this little educational moment they're getting?
They're going to be cracking up.
New threat.
I had money, I had a family, I had good friends.
Sophisticated online recruitment video trying to lure them into joining the terrorist group ISIS.
Every person can contribute something to the Islamic State.
It definitely was eye-opening. You know, you learn that it's in your own backyard. It's American citizens wanting to join these terrorist groups.
I want to say something about this report. Just listening to it, and I didn't realize it when I was clipping this, the first two voices you hear are ISIS recruitment voices. And for them to even put this in this piece is already subliminal. You know, it's very... I think it's unhealthy they're doing this.
It's in your own backyard. It's American citizens wanting to join these terrorist groups.
The young Canadian in the video died fighting with ISIS.
It's definitely a bad thing.
This Bergen County school, one of many the FBI has come to with its alarming message. Regular American kids could be vulnerable to this kind of propaganda.
It was videos and all social media that no one is really that aware of what is happening, how deep they go into Facebook and Twitter now.
Does it scare you?
I'm more interested than I am scared. I want to know how to find terrorists, how to stop them from doing things.
The FBI says more than 150 Americans have traveled abroad to join ISIS, some of them teenagers.
Our students, our young people have to understand that they have a part to play in counterterrorism operations here.
FBI planning on taking its message to other high schools in our area to reach kids at this critical age to make sure they don't fall prey to the propaganda ISIS is putting on the internet.
The forum is part of the FBI's outreach program that in the past focused on issues like cyberbullying.
I had to leave that in. It was so bizarre.
Yeah, you had to leave that.
And this is part of a new term, or maybe it's an old term, it's just new to me, a trigger. And then now the educators speak of trigger warnings. There are certain visuals or other types.
It's an old term.
It's an old term, yeah. Trigger. So we have like trigger warnings. I think
it comes from hypnotists or something.
In fact, I saw in the Washington Post, Columbia students claim Greek mythology needs a trigger warning.
What is that supposed to mean?
When looking at depictions of Greek mythology, there's all kinds of rape and pillaging and beheading and ugly things, and they feel that, or educators feel that this now should...
ban it.
No, they need a trigger warning. The
trigger warning is like,
be careful.
Caution, flash bulbs. Flash bulbs.
Yeah, flash photography.
Yeah, they have that on all the British. I don't know, we don't do it, but apparently flashing on the screen. It's possible that with PAL and 50 cycles, it triggers epileptic seizures if you see flash bulbs on television. Well, we never make that assertion because I think we just a higher frame rate.
So I'm reading here, the phrase can be traced back to the treatment of Vietnam War veterans in the 80s. Psychologists started identifying triggers that sent vets spiraling into flashbacks of past traumas. With the rise of the internet in the late 90s, feminist message boards began using trigger warnings to warn readers of content that could stir up painful or paralyzing memories of sexual assault. So I put this under cultural Marxism, really. It's almost as bad as political correctness, yeah.
Well, this reflects the season-ending most popular show on television, NCIS. Which ended with a bunch of kids. This actually was a very funny show, and of course, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. The NCIS show is a government propaganda machine. Great show,
guaranteed,
but still government propaganda. And the NCIS LA is anti-government propaganda. It's very interesting to watch the two shows. But this show is all about kids that became terrorists through some cult called something, I can't remember the name of it, Common Cause, I think. And
really, Common Cause?
No,
that's too close to Common Core for comfort.
It couldn't. No, Common Cause is a real organization, but it's lost its mojo. And all these kids are like propagandized, and they get their messages through music.
Oh,
and
of course, rap music.
And then they take they show this. This is so corny. They take. They break
3 more days till Halloween.
They break down the bass line and take out the treble, and then they tweak the strings. And a crude version of Morse code is telling these kids what to do.
I love it.
It was hilarious.
Now, do you have a clip of this?
No, it's impossible because it's the whole. And at the very end, they go for some stupid reason. The NCIS of all people decide to go to Syria or Iraq or somewhere, and then the kids sucker them, trap them, and then gun down the main character, and that's how it ended.
I love what is a crude version of Morse code? Is it still Morse code?
I don't know. That's what they say. They say this is a crude version of Morse code. What could be more crude than Morse code?
I don't know. I need to see this episode. Could you hear? Did you hear the dits and the das?
No, they just showed it. They showed it on on an oscilloscope or a monitor. Okay. They showed it, and they fiddled around. Then they showed the crude version with words underneath it that they translate.
Great.
It's very funny.
I love it. Well, Morse code is what the kids should be learning now that the army is...
The terrorists in that story were learning it.
I doubt there's a single terrorist who knows Morse code. I just imagine that.
I would agree with you.
In fact, that's what they should have had in Bin Laden's bookshelf. The Dummy's Guide to Morse Code. That would have completed the whole set.
Well, now that you bring it up, I do have a clip.
Okay.
I listened to 4 reports on Bin Laden's bookshelf.
Yeah, I have a report, too.
And the best report was on NBC. And I threw the other ones away. The best report was on NBC, and this is it.
Okay.
Tonight, 4 years after the U.S. military raid that took his life, we are getting our closest look yet into the mind of Osama bin Laden. The government has just released a stunning trove of documents taken from inside the hideout where he was killed.
Oh, by the way, stop. So as soon as they came up with this, they said it was 2011. There's a couple of things that came up. One, as soon as they said this, I said, so it took them almost 4 years to gin up these bullcrap documents and memos. It took them that long.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree.
I thought that it should have been faster.
Oh, I disagree. This to me is only to add to the crack pottery of Seymour Hersh.
Well, I think it was it came out right at the time. Which brings me to the second point. In one report, they said, and the government was very clear to tell people this had nothing to do with Seymour Hersh's report.
Yeah.
Just a coincidence.
From messages about al-Qaeda's strategy and his focus on killing Americans to the American books he chose to read, even messages he sent to his wife and thoughts about leaving his hideout. Our chief foreign affairs correspondent, Andrea Mitchell, has been poring over the documents.
Yeah, I think I have the same report, only they played it on the Today Show.
From the grave, a new portrait of Osama bin Laden, revealed in hundreds of documents, letters, books, video games, found by SEAL Team 6 at his compound. The al-Qaeda leader telling followers not to grab territory, to keep going after American targets. You should ask them to avoid insisting on the formation of an Islamic State at the time being, but to work on breaking the power of our main enemy by attacking the American embassies in the African countries such as Sierra Leone, Togo, and mainly to attack the American oil companies. Then bin Laden's bookshelf, a digital library, everything from Bob Woodward's Obama's Wars to classics like Paul Kennedy's The Rise and Fall of Great Powers, and the Delta Force Extreme 2 video game. Most likely for his children. The treasure trove offers new insights into bin Laden, the CEO of Al-Qaeda Central, a bureaucracy...
Hey, wait a minute. It's never been called Al-Qaeda Central, has it? Have we heard this term before?
It may have been slipped in once in a while.
I mean, he's the CEO of Al-Qaeda Central?
The CEO of Al-Qaeda Central, LLC.
Buy stocks now.
Offers new insights into bin Laden, the CEO of Al-Qaeda Central, a bureaucracy complete with a lengthy online application. Questions like, what is your favorite material, science or literature? The final question, who should we contact in case you become a martyr?
Okay, stop.
Now, I got to tell you, I have a different version of this report we may want to listen to. But I'll
still Andrea Mitchell?
Yeah, it's a different version of this. Funnier.
Okay, we have to listen for sure. But I want to point something out there's as you clip these things, you hear these things.
Yeah, you hear them after the fact, yeah.
Wait a minute. If there was an online application somewhere, don't you think somebody, I mean, we do have the NSA spying on every single American. Don't you think someone would have picked this thing up somewhere?
Well, here's the questions.
Made fun of it?
Here's the questions I have. What ISP was he using? What was his email address? Did he use Gmail or AOL or,
Was there a website that had this online application?
His digital book? Was it iBooks from Apple? Was it
that's the
Kindle?
other question, because she said they were digital.
Yeah, did he have a Kindle?
His bookshelf was digital.
Yeah.
What was he download? Did he have a Kindle?
Did he Tor them? BitTorrent?
Well, I don't know why you'd have to do that with books. The files are so small.
Oh, well, but you can get books everywhere. BitTorrent, it's just
you can get
them.
books on the torrent.
All right, listen, I like this report. Let's go on.
Answer literature. The final question: who should we contact in case you become a martyr?
These documents show that bin Laden was very much in command, that he was on his game, that he was focused, that he was totally dedicated to making sure al-Qaeda had the capabilities to continue to attack America and the West.
And bin Laden closely tracked the U.S. When the Pentagon warned that WikiLeaks document dump could cost lives.
The truth is, they might already have on their hands the blood of some young soldier or that of an Afghan family.
An al-Qaeda operative writes bin Laden, please dedicate some brothers to translate the documents on Afghanistan and Pakistan that were leaked from the Pentagon, because these documents contain the strategy of the enemy in the area. The biggest surprise, bin Laden, the family man, affectionate letters to a wife, then in Iran, but warning her to remove fillings from her teeth before she comes to his hideout, in case the Iranians inserted a tracking device. Bin Laden also reveals Taliban opposition to 9/11 and the attack on the USS Cole, divisions in the ranks. What has not been released yet by the U.S. are other documents still being examined for intelligence about any future attacks.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
Tonight. Thank you.
That's just like WikiLeaks. More coming. There's more coming. More coming.
There's another question that came to mind as they read this off. Taliban defection in the ranks, or complaints, as something that she said about it. But Taliban has never been Al-Qaeda.
No.
Since when is Taliban Al-Qaeda?
Before we continue, I'd like to play my Andrea Mitchell report, which I'm thinking... Now, yours was on the nightly news?
Yes.
So this was the Today Show, which was either simplified to make it more entertaining for the dumb, stupid slaves who watch that crap, or there was some other reason, because I think I had more. And well, let's just have a listen to an A/B comparison between the morning report and the evening report. And of course, we have Savannah Guthrie, who's going to introduce it, which is always more fun.
Another big story this morning, we have a rare and remarkable look into the mind of Osama bin Laden in his final days.
Inside his mind, John. A rare look inside his mind.
Collection of documents seized during the 2011 raid on his Pakistani compound have now been declassified, and they're revealing more about his final years in hiding. NBC's Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell has more on this. Andrea, good morning to you.
Good morning, Savannah. This is a treasure trove of documents.
Now, did you have the treasure trove? I don't think you had treasure trove.
Letters, books, video games, offering new insights into the thinking over nearly 10 years of the world's most wanted man.
And I will point out that consistently, the documents from the government say Osama bin Laden and not Osama bin Laden, which has always irritated me. So who the hell knows? But this is Osama with a U and not an O.
From the ruins of his hideout in Pakistan, Osama bin Laden is single-minded. The focus should be on killing and fighting the American people and their representatives, he wrote his lieutenants. An avid reader, his online bookshelf ranged from Bob Woodward's Obama's Wars to former CIA bin Laden desk chief Michael Scheuer's Imperial Hubris.
I see, that wasn't in there.
Half his collection were books on conspiracy theories. Like Bloodlines of the Illuminati.
This is not some kind of detached strategic leader. This is very much someone who has his hands in the mechanisms. His lieutenants are back and forth with him.
Bin Laden's letters, even a notebook in his own handwriting, reveal a network run like a business, with an online job application asking aspiring terrorists Any hobbies or pastimes?
See, we got a little more on the online job application.
Do you know any workers or experts in chemistry, communications, or any other field? Do you wish to execute a suicide operation? And finally,
do you think this was multiple choice? Isn't that how it works?
Who should we contact in case you become a martyr? But bin Laden has also revealed his feeling increasingly isolated in Abbottabad.
Another thing I wanted to point out, we went through a long conversation about this. It's not Abbottabad, it's Abbottabad. That is the correct pronunciation. If you, and of course, I don't think Andrea Mitchell's been there, but if you have actually been dealing with the Pakistanis or with this town or with this situation, you would pretty much know it's Abbottabad. You recall this whole...
Oh, yeah. You made a big deal. You made a big fuss.
And I'm still making a big fuss because I believe when people in the know, really in the know, would not be saying Abbottabad. It's Abbottabad.
Months before the SEAL Team 6 dramatic attack, he wrote his favorite wife.
See, this is also different. His favorite wife.
They changed it right.
Yeah,
I agree.
I like that.
Now, I want to mention something else that I know she's going to leave out of this. I don't know if she talks about the tooth thing here, but
yes,
nobody on any of the other networks, because I heard all the reports, about including Democracy Now!, nobody mentioned about taking your fillings out except NBC.
Yeah, it is in this report. But I like the favorite wife. That's cool. Wouldn't it be nice to say, you are my favorite wife, darling?
Now, I assume, I could be wrong, but I would think that this ran the next day.
Could be.
That's a problem we don't have.
I don't know exactly what day this ran. Well, let's
isolated in Abbottabad. Months before the SEAL Team 6 dramatic attack, he wrote his favorite wife, I think that I have to leave them, referring to the brothers who were guarding him. He didn't leave in time. Bin Laden, the family man, wrote passionate letters to a wife living in Iran while warning her to remove fillings from her teeth before she visited him in case the Iranians inserted a tracking device.
That is science fiction straight out of, was it Marathon Man? Was that it?
Most likely for the children, there were even video games at the compound, including Delta Force Extreme 2, also found by the real U.S. Special Forces the night they attacked.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we found on that raid. This was proof that Osama bin Laden was still running al-Qaeda there.
Proof.
Bin Laden repeatedly warned his followers not to attack other Muslims or to grab territory, but to keep targeting American embassies and oil companies. While ISIS, which did not even exist while bin Laden was alive, is doing exactly what he warned against.
Here's your analysis, and then I have a couple things to add.
Well, I don't have much of an analysis, except there's a lot of messaging going on here, and I wonder whether or not much of it is our messaging that we've transposed onto this bogus report, which I question to an extreme.
You think?
Because there was it's like, declassified. Declassified what? They declassified the fact that he was playing a video game by whatever name it was, or promoting the game, by the way. Everyone's going to go buy a copy now.
Is that a new game?
I don't know. I've never heard of the game. I don't do a lot of games.
I believe that if the video game truly was for his kids, we know that all opt for Grand Theft Auto. They're going to go for this bull crap. Killing hookers and speeding cars. It's a universal kid thing.
I think you're right. I think Grand Theft Autos would be what they wanted to play. Maybe he was a strict dad.
First of all, there's no proof. I mean, they just made a list and said, here it is, declassified. Fine, whatever. But also in this.
I do want to mention that according to Democracy Now!, I guess somebody brought this up. Why did it take so long? Somebody brought, we've been, in the answer, government guy, we've been releasing stuff all along. We released some immediately after he was captured. We released some last year. We released some the year before. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, when? I don't remember
this. But there's other things going on with this list. Confessions of an Economic Hitman was on this list. As I said, the bloodlines of the Illuminati, Project MK Ultra. I mean, what this also does I find a not so subtle way, anybody who's reading these books, you're going to be not just a conspiracy theorist, but you're probably self-radicalizing and you're a terrorist.
Yes, I think there's a little of that.
Also, the 2030 spike by Colin Mason. Another thing that we have propagated here, the 2030 meme. So we're on deck, I feel.
We're on deck.
This could be my list. We found the list of all his digital bookshelf.
Cool books to read.
Curiously. There should be a bundle. Can we get an Amazon bundle together where you buy all these books in one go?
That would be a good idea. And I would make the argument that if the government's trying to make it look as though if you read these books and you're self-radicalizing, this was after he's already radicalized. These are post-radical books.
You're good to go. You're already in.
You're already in, and now these books will just give you some more information that you need. Which means, again, if you're going to do counterterrorism, you have to read all these books.
Now,
That's the message I'm getting. You counter-terrorists out there and you kids in school there in the New Jersey schools,
That's right.
You have to be counter-terrorists. That's what the guy said. That means you have to read these books and see what these terrorists are reading. Right?
Yeah. The 9/11 Commission report.
Yeah.
Everything. Well, the only thing missing from this, now here's a guy who is all over every conspiracy theory, every angle, everything that's being said about him, about jihad, about radical Islam. Curiously, not a single publication from the Site Intelligence Group. I don't know how that happens. How can that be? Not a single document, not a single video, not a single web page from the number one source, the exclusive source of all things Al-Qaeda, ISIS, ISIL, Taliban, all terrorist information provided by one group, Rita Katz and the Site Intelligence Group, to the government, and he doesn't have a single one of them.
I wonder if he has a subscription to Stratfor.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that either. That's another good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's well done. I like it. I like that they brought it out, right in time to discredit the entire Seymour Hersh story, because that's part of his story. There was nothing there. It was bogus. There was crap. And, oh, no, it wasn't, because here's the treasure trove. And this does not prove anything. It just proves nothing. And I like the artwork on the DNI.gov webpage, though. They did it up nicely. Abbottabad, ladies and gentlemen. Abbottabad, not Abbottabad. And one guy you'd expect to really know how to pronounce that would be... the former, the acting director of CIA, you'd think.
I would think so, yeah. Although, I don't know. Maybe they don't have they don't care about pronunciation.
Well, Mike Morell, he's been doing...
I got a Mike Morell clip.
Yeah, Mike Morell's doing the rounds everywhere.
He is everywhere. He's everywhere, and he's
got the book out. He's got his book out.
So I caught this on Democracy Now! I didn't catch it direct. I don't know if you did, because I know you're a huge MSNBC freak.
I have different. I have different clips. Go ahead.
So Morell goes on Chris Matthews, and Chris Matthews is either I don't know what his game is, but I think grills Morell.
He's
he's got him cornered.
Douchebag is what he is.
He thinks he's got him cornered.
Yeah, good luck with that.
By demanding that he admit that he was. Why didn't he, knowing that of course Matthews has still got a hard on for Cheney and Bush.
Mm-hmm.
So he's bitching and moaning. He says, I don't know why you didn't come out and say that they lied about what you told them, knowing, or maybe not knowing full well, that the head of he was the briefing guy at the CIA at the time.
Mm.
It's all it's all secret. It's all, you can't go saying anything. You're signing your life away to these agencies when you work for them. And
forever, by the way,
stand up and blab state secrets, and why didn't you, kind of thing. And Morell, being a wimp,
who increasingly, when he has a tell, and by the way, I just said by the way, and I apologize for that. He has a big tell, this Mike Morell. When he gets nervous and he's going into cover up mode, he keeps saying right after every. Well, this right, and this is how it's going, right. And if it's
right, he said right. He said right at the end of sentences.
Yeah, and if it's not in this clip, I have a couple clips from RT.
It's not in this clip because he is being cowed by Chris Matthews to such an extreme that I think is embarrassing.
A former top CIA official and intelligence briefer to President George W. Bush before the...
This is the one, right? Democracy?
Yeah.
Iraq War has acknowledged Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney falsely presented information to the public. In an interview with MSNBC's Chris Matthews, Michael Morell was asked about Cheney's claim that Saddam Hussein was seeking nuclear weapons.
Was that true?
We were saying...
Can you answer that question?
No,
that's true?
That's not true.
Well, why'd you let him get away with it?
Look, my job, Chris, is...
You're the briefer of the president on intelligence. You're the top person to go in and tell him what's going on. You see Cheney make this charge. He's got a nuclear bomb. And then they make subsequent charges. He knew how to deliver it. He had the capability to deliver it. And nobody raised their hand and said, no, that's not what we told him.
Chris, what's my job, right? My job...
Tell the truth.
My job, no. As the briefer...
I don't know what's the truth.
Okay, good.
As the briefer, my job is to carry CIA's best information and best analysis to the President of the United States, make sure he understands it, right? My job is to not watch what they're saying on TV and say, yesterday...
You think TV's a joke?
What?
You think it's a joke?
Yes.
That's not my job.
Did
that's
you know
not
he
my
did
job.
that?
No, I wasn't paying attention. I was studying what was on my desk.
So you're briefing the president on the reasons for war. They're selling the war, using your stuff, saying that you made that case when you didn't. So they're using your credibility to make the case for war dishonestly, as you just admitted.
Look, I'm just telling you...
Well, you just admitted it.
I'm just telling you what
they gave a false presentation of what you said to them.
On some aspects.
That was Morell, a top briefer for President George W. Bush, being questioned by MSNBC's Chris Matthews.
Her vocal fry has gotten a little worse for some reason.
Yes.
The Iraq invasion has emerged as a major campaign issue after Republican hopeful Jeb Bush walked back his claim he would have authorized the Iraq war. On Tuesday, Democratic hopeful Hillary Clinton was asked about her Senate vote to support the Iraq invasion.
Look, I know that there have been a lot of questions about Iraq posed to candidates over the last weeks. I've made it very clear that I made a mistake, plain and simple. And I have written about it in my book. I've talked about it in the past. And, you know, what we now see is a very different and very dangerous situation. The United States is doing what it can, but ultimately this has to be a struggle that the Iraqi government and the Iraqi people are determined to win for themselves.
I want to circle back to Hillary. First, I'd like to go to a Mike, and the problem with Mike Morell, and this is all part of Project Pundit, which is a known CIA, it's a whole department. They write the books. He's got a book out now written by someone else. And I think he somehow believes that he has like some shield or some immunity thing and that everyone will just buy his crap. And because he's CIA and they'll have respect for him. The guy commandeers no respect. He's like a grown Harry Potter and he's a lying sack of shit. It's obvious. So he goes on RT and I think Ben Swann is now on RT.
Yeah, Ben Swann's on RT.
I like Ben Swann. I like what he does.
He's just a little full of himself.
Yeah, it's all right. So here is, you're going to hear a lot of his tells in this one.
Was there a link between Iraq and al-Qaeda? It was a very legitimate question for everybody to ask after 9/11. Is there a link between Iraq and al-Qaeda? Is there a link between Iran and al-Qaeda? We said at the end of the day, after going through some ups and downs, we said there is no link between Iraq and al-Qaeda today. Iraq did not help al-Qaeda with 9/11. Iraq did not have foreknowledge of 9/11. Iraq in no way.
So far, not a single right.
Supported al-Qaeda. We said that. And some administration officials pushed back on us. Some administration officials said, you know, we think you need to withdraw that paper and take another look at this because we think you're wrong, right? They pressured us.
It's even better when you say wrong, right. That's even cooler. You say, you think you're wrong, right? No, wrong, right?
I think you're wrong, right? They pressured us. They pressured us in a way that I haven't experienced before as an analyst, right? But we stood our ground. We did exactly what the taxpayers pay us to do, which is call it like you see it, balls and strikes.
Balls and strikes.
You know,
this guy's just filled with cliches.
Right.
From that.
Right.
And the president supported us. It was the vice president's office who was pushing us. The president supported us. The president said, hey, I know about that pressure that's on you. I want you to continue to call it like you see it.
Okay. Now we go to...
bull crap, by the way.
Of course it's bull crap. Now we go to question about Abbottabad. Not Abbottabad, Abbottabad. You would think...
Can I stop for a second and just throw one other thing in? You know, Bush used Cheney as his hatchet man.
Yeah.
And I've seen CEOs do this. I mean, they'll be the nicest guy in the world. Oh, no, this happened to you. Oh, this is terrible. I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And then, of course, the hatchet man comes in and you get fired.
There was a hatchet. He may still work there at Omnicom. When Omnicom invested directly in Think New Ideas, the company that we took public in '96. And John Wren is who was just, he's larger than life. He's a drinker, though, because after like 3 PM, you don't want a meeting with him. Or maybe then. It may have changed. I don't know. But I was always concerned about that. He had Tom Watson was his guy. And Tom was this kind of, he looked a bit like, Burns from The Simpsons. And he had one arm that was a little half paralyzed. It was really creepy. And if he came to your office, man, you knew it was all over. Oh, crap, Watson's here. And that's what you do. You have the CEO hanging out with the babes and on the commercial shoots and drinking.
Nicest guy, schmoozer, charmer.
Exactly. Big charmer, larger than life. And then you got Watson. Oh, crap, Watson's coming. Here is, again, Abbottabad.
It's in every aspect of the story he tells. Right, the Pakistanis were not holding Bin Laden under house arrest in Abbottabad. Right, the
Abbottabad, no, Abbottabad.
Bin Laden under house arrest in Abbottabad. Right, the documents that we found there show that he was managing the organization. In fact, we were surprised to the extent that he was micromanaging the organization. Right. It wasn't the Pakistanis who told us that he was there. It wasn't some Pakistani who walked into our embassy and we paid $25 million to. We followed a guy who we thought was Bin Laden's courier to Abbottabad. We watched the compound.
It's incomprehensible to me. That he says Abbottabad. I'm just going to be an asshole about
Bin Laden's courier to Abbottabad. We watched the compound. We came to the conclusion that Bin Laden was there. The Pakistanis did not know that we were coming that night.
No, that's why there's no shots fired. Nobody did anything.
Exactly.
That's why.
Because
they didn't know they were coming.
Right.
In the middle of the country.
Right.
Well, it wasn't the middle. It was actually the northern part, but it's in the middle of a giant military area.
Right.
Right?
Surprised.
By the way, stop. Wouldn't it be cool if you run into one of these guys who does that? Yeah. He says either right or what you do rarely, but you do it. Yeah. Say okay.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
At the end of a sentence, and you say okay. Really loud. Right. Right.
Exactly. Or maybe just
say right. You have to use that word.
Can't you just say affirmative? If he says right, you should say negative.
Negative.
Okay, right.
The compound. We came to the conclusion that Bin Laden was there. The Pakistanis did not know that we were coming that night.
Oh crap!
They were surprised. I was there when they first learned of this. They were angry. They were embarrassed. The president sent me there to smooth over relations with.
Wait, but he went there, and did he go there and say, "Take me to Abbottabad"? And they went, "What the fuck are you talking about, man? It's Abbottabad, not Abbottabad." Have you actually been there, Mike?
Them afterwards, and I saw how angry and embarrassed they were. I am confident, 95% to 99% confident that the Pakistani government.
Wait a minute. He went from 95 to 97% confident. He should be in climate change research. That's what he should be doing.
I am confident, 95% to 99% confident that the Pakistani government.
99. It's almost there.
Did not know he was there.
So there's a possibility he's lying, right?
That the senior leadership of the Pakistani government didn't know he was there. Can I rule out that somebody in the local police department in Abbottabad or the local intelligence department in Abbottabad didn't know about this? No. That may well have happened, but not the Pakistani government. So in almost every regard, he's wrong.
Do you know if that $25 million was ever paid out?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay. Oh, not going to answer that question. I know. First he says, "Bud, there's nothing about."
Holy crap! Are you kidding me?
95% certain I can't talk about that. I know, it's so obvious. The guy's a liar, and he was never there. I'm telling you, he was never in Abbottabad. The guy's dreaming.
If that $25 million was,
huh?
Oh, go back to the 25 million play.
Yeah.
Government. So in almost every regard, he's wrong.
Do you know if that $25 million was ever paid out?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, good enough.
And Ben's like, okay.
Why doesn't he just say no?
Yeah, why can't he just, because he's
been lying all along.
He's afraid. Look, no one wants to be, everyone's jumping. Everyone's jumping out, everyone's bailing, everyone's getting out of the way. No one wants to be around when this shit comes crashing down. So he's, I think he messed it up previously.
Why does he pull his punch right there? I mean, he's going on and on with his cock and bull story. And then they asked a direct question about the $25 million, and for some reason, on that question, he chokes.
Yeah, and that's a central part to the Hersh walk-in story.
The walk-in story.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. What about the buried?
That's not good enough.
Come on, man. It's Ben. Give him a break.
Okay, good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
They should use that in congressional hearings. Okay, good enough.
Okay, good enough.
Good enough.
What about the buried at sea issue? So many people question that.
Yeah.
Now this gets even better.
And the claim was it's.
And by the way, I appreciate Ben Swann doing this. I mean, we're clearly dissecting it, deconstructing his work. But I'm glad he's doing it at least. You know, got to give the guy credit.
It's in line with Islamic tradition, and a number of imams came out afterward and said only if you die at sea, which clearly he did not. Yeah. Why did that go down that way?
So if you listen to Seymour Hersh, right, the SEALs chopped up his body and threw it out of the helicopter before they even returned to their base in Jalalabad, Afghanistan. Right. I know with certainty that his body was taken off that helicopter.
With certainty, John. With certainty. I know with certainty. So he doesn't have proof.
That's not the way you do it. That's not the way. If you're going to, it's like a testimony thing. You don't throw these weasel words in there. I know with certainty. Yeah. You just say that's a fact.
It's a performative. I know with certainty. Okay, that's what you know with certainty. Doesn't mean that that's fact or true, etc.
I know with certainty that his body was taken off that helicopter in Jalalabad. Bill McCraven, the commander of this operation, laid out the body on the ground, had one of his guys lay down next to it to see how tall he was, because we still weren't 100% sure it was Bin Laden.
Wait a minute, stop.
Yeah,
this is a version of selfies. Okay, Bill, do you want to lay down next to him?
I gotta go. Shot. Hey, wait a minute. Let me get my cock out. It'll be funny. Yeah, I'm telling you, I would have done that. That would be great.
Would have.
Let me hold on to his. It'll be really funny, man. Come on, it's a great shit. You know, there's a photo somewhere of that taking place. Or maybe just put the chopped
guy
off
standing around peeing on him. That's even more.
Nah, no, had the chopped off arm, you know, rubbing my crotch or something.
Like the Weekend at Bernie's.
I'm sure it was Bin Laden at that point. Right? I was there when the President of the United States directed that he receive a proper Muslim burial at sea.
The President would know.
And I watched the video, and I saw pictures.
Wait a minute. He watched the video. This is new. He said there's video. I thought there were only photos. Now, apparently, he said he watched the video, so there's video.
I think he just misspoke.
Right. I was there when the...
Well, you know what?
Maybe there is a video.
Actually,
that was a blunder.
You know what I'll say? I'm sure there is a video, and I'm sure it's a video. It's complete bullcrap made by the same people who make the beheading videos. God knows what he watched.
Still working on it.
The President of the United States directed that he receive a proper Muslim burial at sea. And I watched the video, and I saw pictures. So I don't know who this former senior intelligence officer is who is providing this information to Seymour Hersh, but he was not in the same room that I was.
Yeah. So let me circle back with some Morell stuff, actually, to Hillary Clinton. Now, of course, what is happening is there's a big move to put Hillary in as much hot water as possible. And Mike Morell, I think he was on Fox. And, you know, now we have a report, which actually I'll play the report first, because all of a sudden the Pixie Girl is back, John. The MK Ultra complete 1,000-yard stare pixie girl, Catherine Herridge. You recall her from Fox.
Oh, yeah. Catherine Herridge. Well, I don't know.
She's always the breaking news girl. She always has the inside scoop, and then she screwed one up and they kicked her off for a while. Isn't that what happened?
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah. So
she
this
may have misspoke.
So this girl all of a sudden pops back up, and she looks in the camera, and she has the red dress on, sleeveless. And it looks very cute, but she's beautiful shoulders. She's stoic. She's sitting right there. Her pixie haircut, eyes dead set. There's no soul in this woman, zero soul. But she's
removed, clinically removed.
Yeah, it's with the MK Ultra system. But she, of course, has received the highly confidential documents that prove that not only was the Benghazi embassy attack known to intelligence sources, the director of national intelligence, 10 days before, but everybody, including the State Department and thus Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, knew that this was not a video. It was not some, about just people going nuts over a crazy ass video. and I need to play this before we get into the Morell stuff, because this is all meant to bring down and discredit and set the stage for Hillary Clinton to be grilled over her role and her passive or not so passive role in this cover-up.
Newly released documents show a serious disconnect between what the administration said and what was known as the Defense Intelligence Agency, also known as the DIA. This September 16th, 2012 memo copied to...
As she's holding it up now, she's holding up a piece of paper.
The National Security Council, State Department, CIA, and others concluded the Benghazi terrorist attack was planned at least 10 or more days in advance. The DIA memo also reports the attack was tied to 9/11 and was retaliation for a June 2012 drone strike that killed an al-Qaeda strategist. There is no discussion of...
What does an al-Qaeda strategist do, actually? Does he sit there with a stick and draw here's an X and we go over there and we cut over to the right? What does a strategist do?
I think he knows where the outhouses are out in the middle of nowhere.
Of a demonstration or an anti-Islam video. Quote, the intention was to attack the consulate and to kill as many Americans as possible, to seek revenge for the U.S. killing of Abu Yahya al-Libi in Pakistan, and in memorial of the 11 September 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center buildings. Judicial Watch obtained these new records by suing in federal court. And another DIA memo from 2012 predicts the rise of ISIS and the establishment of a caliphate 17 months before the president called the terror group the JV team.
So complete discrediting, and we'll go into the second piece here about what we knew very early on, that the CIA compound or the CIA building next to the embassy was being used for shipments of weapons to Syria.
Gun running,
which is illegal. This is Iran-Contra. They may not have paid for it with drugs, but it is precisely the same thing that George H. Walker Bush got in a lot of trouble for.
The DIA memo also reported that military stockpiles were moving from Benghazi to the Syrian ports of Banias and Bor Islam, and the shipments included rifles, RPGs, and missiles. This DIA document may also be problematic for Mrs. Clinton, who also skirted the weapons issue during her only congressional testimony on Benghazi of January 2013.
Now let's go to Mike Morell, and he is asked about this report, also on Fox, of course.
Were CIA officers tracking the movement of weapons from Libya to Syria?
Can't talk about that.
No!
Can't talk about that.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it.
Even if they weren't moving the weapons themselves, are you saying categorically that the U.S. government and the CIA played no role whatsoever in the movement of weapons from Libya to Syria?
Yes, we played no role.
I love that. Yes, we played no role. What does that mean? Yes, we played no role.
Weapons from Libya to Syria.
We played no role. Now, whether we were watching other people do it, I can't talk about it.
So in other words, they were watching other people. They played no role, but watching.
I think that's a role.
Supervising.
Of course, that's a role. Yes, we played no role in that. Now, maybe other people were doing it.
You go back. Well, you got to play it again, because I bet you if you parse what Brett Baer was saying, I think that's who that is.
Yeah.
If you parse what he asked, I'll bet you can see what they're answering here. This may be actually pretty good.
Were CIA officers tracking the movement of...
So were CIA officers tracking the movement...
weapons from Libya to Syria?
Can't talk about that.
Okay, so yes. He can't talk about it, so I presume yes.
Right.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it.
Even if they weren't moving the weapons themselves, are you saying categorically that the U.S. government and the CIA played no role whatsoever in the movement of weapons from Libya?
Yes. Even if they weren't...
You got to
go back again. Yeah.
Categorically that the U.S. government...
I'm back one more time. Hold on. Sorry. Worth it.
Themselves, are you saying categorically that the U.S. government and the CIA played no role whatsoever in the movement of weapons from Libya to Syria?
We played no role.
They were
exactly.
moving weapons.
Yeah, no role in the movement of the weapons, storage of the weapons, right? Putting the weapons,
out the weapons, tracking,
loading them, training,
everything, but
cleaning them.
There was not a CIA guy holding a box of guns,
polishing the weapons, pricing them.
The other guys did that. So we played no role in touching and moving these.
weapons. No. He didn't say touching. He said moving.
He said not moving. We didn't move them from here to there.
Did not move them.
Now, whether we were watching other people do it, I can't talk about it.
So he's what? But they saw these guys moving the weapons.
Yeah, but that by itself.
Worst guy for covering up anything. He shouldn't even be on the air.
He should not.
Hey, CIA, get a clue.
He should not.
Get this guy out of there.
He should not get in the hot tub. I'm telling you, bad idea.
Jeez. He's terrible. Right?
Right. Affirmative. And with that, I would like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for confirmation. Dvorak.
You got me off. C stands for caught me off guard.
Well, that's the same every week.
In the morning to you, Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water. And all the dames and all the knights out there.
In the morning to everyone in the chat room, noagendastream.com. Thank you all for being here, depleting your $9.2 million worth of value to the government as a human resource. In the morning to our artists. And thank you, Martin JJ, for bringing us. It's good to see Martin back. Martin JJ. He brought us the artwork for episode 722, Moral Debt, which I got a lot of retweets on this. People said this was the best artwork yet. It was the ISIS slave T-shirt on the sexy babe. Works every time.
Yeah, there's nothing like a sexy babe.
There's nothing like a sexy babe.
Well, we had a very poor showing, despite the quality newsletter with the photo. Which I thought was hilarious, and I thought I made a good point with this photo, which was a photo released by the Justice Department about showing Holder with his
with his
someone. It's called the Great Hall or something, and I always thought it sense it might have been faked until I found it on the Justice Department Twitter feed.
Yeah,
that's where it came from,
and It's so nationalistic, so creepy,
no, it's just
so
Hitler-esque.
Yeah, Hitler-esque would be it. Yes.
Where's Rennie Riefenstahl when we need her? Or Lenny, I guess.
Oh, but isn't her name? What's her name?
Lenny Riefenstahl.
No,
Lenny
not Lenny. What's her Greenwald's girlfriend? What's her name?
Oh, the Poitras.
Lenny Poitras. There you go.
Yeah, Lenny Poitras.
Poitras Riefenwald.
So we got three people. We don't really have an official executive producer. Nobody came in with more than $271.83. Who will be named the executive producer because he came in with the highest. We only have three. Christian Herzog, Sir Zog of Elwood. Who comes in from Elwood, Illinois, 27183. Gents, Sir Zog of Elwood, father of Sir Azog here, having missed him. Let me just stretch this so I can actually.
Having missed Pi Day.
Pi Day, I'm donating the natural logarithm amount, working my ways towards baronhood. The show has been great of late, and I'm overdue in showing my support. If I could get a long version of the Rev Whoop'em, I'd be a happy camper. Thanks.
Now get out there and whoop Obama's behind. Whooping with the Constitution. Whooping the Constitution. Whooping the Constitution. Whooping all of them behind the Constitution.
I'll give him a karma, too.
You've got karma.
Nice. That's always good hearing that one. I like that. The Rev.
Coming in next, even though he actually only gave 123, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But he took me out to dinner last night, and that dinner was not at a cheap place, so I credited him with a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even though on the books.
And who was this?
This is Sir Patrick Coble.
Oh, he was in town?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice.
He's in town for some Citrix thing or some meeting.
Right.
He's like a
dude named Ben.
He's a dude named Ben. And having sat down and chatted with him, he's like a real dude named Ben.
I know. And
in fact, he's a really nice guy.
Did he drive his Ducati from Nashville?
No, he drove his.
I saw him after our meetup in Nashville. Then, when a Ducati is a very distinct sound. It's a very, very beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful machine to look at. And I believe he has the 850. And he took off, just on his wheelie for like a mile and a half. There goes our night. That's right. Dude named Ben.
Well, he's the one who gave us the best podcasting trophies.
Yes, that's right. Which I display proudly.
So we had a nice chat. So I credited him with this. So he comes in as associate executive producer.
Okay.
And then James, give him a karma for showing up.
Of course.
Amen. Fist bump. You've got karma.
I mean, it has to go. Apparently, he says that these are like 2 months of meetings. all the IT world they jam everything into a couple of months a year, and you sometimes are on. He says he's going to be on the road for like 40 days or something, just going from one company to another where they bring these big shots in, and he's one of them.
Yeah,
and then they ask what's wrong with our product, and then according to Coble, they tell him what's wrong with the product, and then a couple of years later, after they've been told over and over and over,
they get the problem.
Again, they finally fix it.
Oh, his job is to upsell, it sounds.
James Butcher in Dalwallanu, Western Australia, 200. Hey, guys, this brings me to 1177766. I'd like to be knighted as Sir James of the General Wheat Belt.
Central Wheat Belt.
Oh, I said general. Mm-hmm. Central Wheat Belt. Thanks, guys, for the great show.
All right. And that's it.
That's all we got. In fact, it should only be 2.
Yeah, if it weren't for Patrick.
That was pretty pathetic. I don't understand. Some people can get in on an executive producership like this just by
such a slam dunk. I'm just going to move on. The No Agenda CD housekeeping memo I received from Sir Ramsey Kane,
right?
Who starts off appropriately with "Hail Apple," which we all say "Hail Apple."
Hail Apple.
I just put up this week's episode of No Agenda 2016. I'm moving on to a new No Agenda CD. I've had many requests for CDs and haven't gotten back to everyone yet. I was hoping you could mention that if anyone requests discs, I'll get them out when the new discs are produced and burned. I really appreciate it. And we appreciate what you do, Sir Ramsey Kane. This is extremely important. And we really do appreciate that. With that, please, we're doing a show on Sunday. I'll be back for the Sunday show, so it'll be one of those travel Saturday prep everywhere, the airport, the airplane, get up early, do it, and we'll be ready to bring you another fine episode of Media Deconstruction, and we do need your support for that.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Obviously, you can always do things like, go out there and propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Before we move on, John, in 2 newsletters ago, I believe you asked people for their thoughts and their input, and we received some comments, some good and some logical. Increasingly, and there's always a little delay in things like this, increasingly I'm receiving emails, I think you even copied on one of these exchanges, where people say, well, you guys are really good at pointing out the lies and the bull crap and deconstructing and showing us that we're being mind controlled and programmed to think certain ways, but you never give us any solutions.
And this comes up a few times a year. We get one of these.
Yeah, and I wanted to explain, at least my position, I think yours is reasonably similar. The solution is incredibly simple. And let me show you an example. I looked this up. The top funded Kickstarter projects. So this is crowd-funded. Pebble Watch, $20 million. A cooler that is it's a portable party cooler that can have blended drinks and music.
Got a blender on it.
13. Yeah, it's a blender right on the top. $13 million. The Pebble e-paper watch. So really, the Pebble company has raised $30 million in total. We have Exploding Kittens, a card game, $8.7 million. Now, if you want to change anything, you have to start at a local or regional level, depending on where you are. We all know that it takes money to be elected, certainly in the United States of Gitmo Nation. Once people figure out that you can actually change your life, your environment, the politics, and how things are run by either running for office or electing people, voting people out, helping to get other people elected, you might actually get, like the Pebble of politicians. It's a crazy concept. We're all so obsessed with bullshit. But if you really are frustrated, work on this concept. That's all that it takes. If you look at in the United States, in Congress, currently 79 members of Congress have been in office for at least 20 years. Now, what a lot of people do is, we need term limits. That's just, you're lazy. You're a lazy ass. How hard can it be to put together a video for someone that you believe in, maybe yourself, and crowdfund it? This really can be done. But to say, what choices do I have? I am embarrassed as a human being that in my lifetime, we will likely have 2 people from the Bush family and 2 people from the Clinton family in the White House as president. It's crazy. And it's our own fault.
Crazy.
It's our own fault.
And these are not the Adams, John Adams, John Quincy Adams type level of family and intelligence.
No, not at all.
These are scammers.
Yeah, they're liars. They're cheats. They're killers. They're horrible people. John and I both have been around the elites, and the elites love to combine with show business. These people don't give a crap about you. They really don't. It's not. They walk past you like you're dirt. That's what happens. It happens with celebrities too. It's a human condition. And once you have power, you just spit on people. They're only there to do whatever you tell them to do, and you can combat them. But if you don't, if all you're interested in is this is so cool. There's some guy's trying to build a rocket, go to the moon. Well, I'll give him $50. That's really funny. People, that's all it takes. That I'm continuously amazed that we have to have some kind of grand scheme how you can change things. No, there's only
it's not our job.
No, but there's only 2 in the United States. Is that in anywhere? Look at history. Either you're going to find a way to vote your candidates in. We know how it's done. It's done with money. Go raise some money. Or revolution, and you got to chop their heads off. The French did it, and it's not impossible. And that's all I can say about it. We're here to help you people. We're here to help you train your kids, and luckily we have young people listening, to not be caught up in this like these poor kids in New Jersey who are all in on being recruited for ISIS.
It's so silly.
And even funnier, I met some Dutch friends here in New York, and it's cynical almost how crazy this is. They compare, they call it IS. Of course, we say ISIS or ISIL or advertising or whatever. They're saying, it's just like IS. It's just like the Nazis. I'm like, no, you're misunderstanding.
How does that work? The Nazis have Toyota trucks as their main weapon?
They're misunderstanding.
These guys don't even wear helmets.
That right now, the United States of America is closer to the Nationalistic Party than anything else. We're getting armbands, for crap's sake.
The armbands is a bad idea.
Everybody's lockstep and all for it. So, anyway. Bingo, boom, shakalaka.
Well, okay. you got that out.
Yeah, what do we have to talk about it once in a while?
I don't know why people want us to have call for action. We're reporting and deconstructing news. That is what we do. Yeah. And the idea is to make you better, do it yourself.
I have an idea.
As best you can.
I just had a great idea. You run, just for a local election, maybe it's city council, get started somewhere. But you could even find some congressional districts. You do a Kickstarter. And as a reward, you have an armband, as like a certain level award. People will buy into that. People want armbands. Give it to them.
Yes, so. Hall monitor.
Hall monitor. There you go. I received a great email. Our intelligence network is above any I've ever witnessed. If we wanted to exploit this and work with the people who are inside of our network, we could all be probably fabulously wealthy. Some people would get killed and others would be out of a job. But in general, I think we're good. And people come to us from the inside of FBI, CIA, CDC, DNI, you name it, MI5. I don't think we have an MI6, MI5, everywhere. And this is from one of our producers in the morning, Adam, and I have some clips to go with this if we're interested in it. I'm not sure if this is the correct way to get info to you, as I'm quite new to No Agenda. In fact, was hit in the mouth indirectly by John via Twit. See, John, it's still valuable. But I feel it is my duty as a well-informed slave to pass on my knowledge to the No Agenda Nation. This story about hacking the ECU from the in-flight entertainment system is bullshit. What makes me qualified to comment? Well, in my career, I've designed and built cockpit display systems for many aircraft, including the Future Lynx U.S. presidential helicopter. I've designed test equipment for the ARINC bus, and also written the firmware for the remote data concentrators, which provide the interconnects for the different buses on the aircraft. The ECU is controlled via the ARINC 429er bus, and although it uses the same number of wires and a similar protocol to Ethernet, it requires a time-triggered Ethernet card to issue commands over this bus. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I'm reading verbatim, by the way. It's not in any way connected to in-flight fucking entertainment systems. The airspeed, altitude, and GPS provided to the passengers is not a fucking feed from the cockpit nav system. The fact that this InfoSec expert claims to have gained access to the in-flight entertainment system, which would be standard Ethernet, is not a huge surprise or a concern, as they are two separate systems. The FAA and other flight regulatory committees would never allow the connection of a DO-178B, or these days the 178C level, safety critical 10 to the 9th degree failure rate, be connected to a non-safety critical system. These systems are written on bare metal with no operating system or third-party libraries, as every single line of code and all branches are tested via MCDC, Modified Code Decision Converge, it says, I don't know, to ensure that they are safe for flight. So the fact that he would know the exact commands to issue to the flight management system is highly dubious, as there is no give me a list of commands that are available commands method. And secondly, it is absolutely impossible using a standard laptop from the in-flight entertainment system. I'm calling massive bullshit on this. Just another scare tactic to lead us towards trains good, planes bad. Now, with that, there is a podcast called Security Weekly, and they had this guy on the podcast. How about that? Chris Roberts. And it's very interesting, this Chris Roberts guy. I'm going to play this first clip where he pretty much says, and remember, Wired magazine, Ars Technica, everybody was, oh, he made the plane fly sideways, he hacked in, he did all this crazy, oh, how could we get into the system? It's all bad. Am I summarizing that appropriately?
I think so.
Here he is. He didn't actually hack into anything. So here we go.
So what happened, the first thing that happened was I was very civilized and actually paid for my wireless on the airplane for a nice change.
This attitude, this from an info security guy saying, I was really nice, I paid for my Wi-Fi for a change. What are you, some asshole? Like, it's so cool you can steal Wi-Fi from the plane? Does that make you a big man? Does that grow your penis?
Which I have a receipt for. But somebody sent me the GAO report. I was actually going from Denver to Chicago and then on to Syracuse to an aviation security conference.
Hold on a second. What do you mean he has a receipt for it? It's all done online. They don't print out.
I'm sure he has an emailed receipt then, is what he means.
I doubt it.
If you use the Wi-Fi, you get a receipt.
I've used Wi-Fi and I paid for it, and I don't get a receipt by email. They don't even ask for my email address, and I wouldn't give it to them if they wanted it.
I got partway through the flight to Chicago. Somebody sent me the GAO report that says, airlines are vulnerable, at which point I looked at something that Airbus had put out, and Airbus was like, oh, no, we're perfectly safe, everything's wonderful, and I called bullshit on it and did it in a pretty blunt and pretty neat 140 characters and said, I'm sitting in front of a system, and I know damn well I can get into it, and that apparently caused some issues.
So what he did now, this is a different story than what he told.
A lot different.
Yeah. So he received a report that said, well, maybe there's some issues, but it's all safe, and then he called bullshit on it because he's an InfoSec expert, and he felt the need to tweet that out saying, oh, I could do, anyone want to do this right now? I'm so cool. This is not what info security specialists do. You're a douchebag.
So did you actually plug into something under your seat?
No, I did not. I was pretty blunt.
Wait a minute.
I know. So Wired, Ars Technica, This Week in Tech, everybody who's parroting these news stories, you're complicit in propagating crap.
Hey, I know this is what can be done, but no. Thankfully, because my understanding is they pulled the airplane aside, they've looked at it, they've interviewed passengers, and all sorts of good things.
I gotcha. Jeez. So is there something you could plug into under your seat, or you don't know?
Oh, yeah, no, there definitely is. There's a nice control box under the seat that has a modified Cat 5, Cat 6 jack under it to make friends with the in-flight entertainment system.
Make friends.
I see. But that's the in-flight entertainment system. That should have nothing to do with the airplane controls, correct?
You would hope and you would think. That would be logic. But unfortunately, logic does not appear to have been part of the design criteria.
Now, I want to point something out.
Where does he get this information from?
Oh, well, listen in.
It's in-flight entertainment has two avenues from there. He goes to the cockpit control, the cabin control systems, and then also goes out to the satellite systems. So you've got two attack avenues from there. And obviously, cabin control systems and SATCOM systems have discrete network access into the avionics systems and the pilot avionics stuff.
Well, no, obviously it's not true. It's not true. There's no moving into that. This is what he says, obviously, it's not true.
And I've heard this for quite some time that, kind of rumblings from people that the systems on board an airplane are not, in fact, separate. Well, what's kind of lagged the change and prevented things from actually getting better and more secure?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. One, they're using a whole bunch of the off-the-shelf, the COTS stuff. So they're using a lot of the off-the-shelf stuff. Secondly,
which is we just heard is not true. It's written on metal. It's not off-the-shelf stuff.
There's all the interconnects. You look at what the pilots are using up front. They, especially in the more modern jets, have got a lot of the glass cockpit systems. So they are now
modern. Every single Cessnas have glass cockpit systems. This is well-known technology. This is not some obviously newer aircraft have. What do you think they're flying on these things, Dick?
Obviously, you've got the iPad issues in. I think
the iPad issues for American Airlines were not connected. They only held the digital flight maps with approach plates. It's not obviously that's what happened. There was a bad update. That's something different.
Yes.
One of them had the iPad issues. That's the iPad connecting to the data that they need, which is sitting behind the systems.
Not true. That does not connect to the systems. I know these systems. The electronic flight bag does not connect to the systems.
You've got the cabin control systems, which are, the cockpit front-end system has, the back-end system has. You've just got a complex asshole about face network that everybody's running around on.
Complex asshole about face network. Okay, let's talk about this guy for a moment, because you're going to hear what is really going on here. And I find it despicable, and I find it even more despicable how the so-called tech press has handled this story. That a bunch of like a VJ has to explain it to you. What's wrong with you people? So this guy is running an a security company, and he previously worked for a guy named Kevin Knierim, Knierim, Kevin Knierim, at a company, you're going to love this, called Cyopsis LLC. I'll say that again. Cyopsis LLC. Spelled CYOPSIS. Like PSYOPs, I guess.
Yeah.
And this Kevin guy, who was his boss, was with the FBI for 15 years. This guy has been involved with the FBI and security for a long time. He has been pitching to get this business, and they don't feel that they either need him or that they want him specifically, as we'll witness here, where he's just trying to pitch new business by doing this, by making these funny tweets and telling people he knows what's wrong and airplanes will crash. And he neatly had Wired and Ars Technica and all other tech press line right up behind him.
So we have tried to engage with both the airline manufacturers and a bunch of the number of the airlines and haven't had a huge amount of success.
No, because you're a dick.
One of our intel
crap
guys found a release.
The airline guys, there's got to be always a tech guy in there that just sees through this.
Yeah.
What is it? You can't sell this way.
No, it's a bad way to sell.
Well, obviously that's why he can't sell. But to think that he could get away with this, I mean, the letter you read pretty much says it all.
Yeah.
And this guy is out there pitching.
Unsuccessfully.
All he's doing is pointing out that he's an incompetent bonehead.
So we have tried to engage with both the airline manufacturers and a bunch of the number of the airlines and haven't had a huge amount of success. One of our intel guys found a release from Boeing from a couple of years ago where I think Renda, myself, Raoul, and a few others were considered potential threats to Boeing. Airbus has kept on telling us that they'd want some help.
Kept showing up at the office.
Yeah.
In Toulouse and
get a restraining order.
Other places, and it's never come to anything. But for me, I was messing around with the vehicles. Jesse and I were messing around with cars and everything else. and started to look at the IntelliBus stuff. IntelliBus is a Boeing thing, and so we switched our attention to airplanes, and then pretty much I've turned all the research tools that we have against airplanes to see what we could find out.
All right, and so what you found out is probably incorrect, and your entire approach is annoying. But even worse, there's never been any attack of any kind. No one's ever attempted to do what he claimed to do, what the technology press has propagated.
To your knowledge, has there ever been an attack on the computer systems of an airplane with malicious intent?
Ooh, there have been a lot of potential issues on airplanes that have been attributed to attacks, but no, to my knowledge, there's never been one direct attack against one. There's been a lot of work that's been done to see what we can do to them, but there's never been an attack against one.
Yeah, so fail is what he's saying. No one has ever completed, and I'll leave you just so you can hear what this guy is about. And I find it sickening to hear this whole... Who does the Security Weekly podcast? Who hosts this thing? Who is this?
I don't know.
Well, they're all so smug, and they're so funny, and it's all so cutesy.
Yeah, they let me go. They kept all my toys. They kept my laptop, my iPad.
My toys.
Had multi-terabytes worth of hard drives, a bunch of USB drives. They took my Think Geek Annoyatron, and was very upset with that.
I hope they plugged it in somewhere.
Oh, I hope so. So freaking hope so.
Yes.
They got a couple of USB drives that have got some 0 days in, so I'm looking forward to those calling home one day.
Oh, does he not hear himself?
Apparently not.
Yeah. And you know, and for me, that
retard.
From what I've read, that there were, you know, lots of people took your tweet as a threat, and quite honestly. Yeah. I did not. I saw that as, hey, I happen to be sitting here. And, wow, all these funny things could happen, because I know they can happen, but I haven't actually done anything, and I never intend to do anything. That's what I read into that tweet. So I think maybe some things got a little bit overblown, and the fact that you deal with all those folks on a fairly regular basis,
there you
gives
go.
More credibility to that.
Yeah, credibility at the end says either you're the most incompetent sales guy in the world, or you're part of a psychological operation, an extension of the firm Psyopsis. Please. So,
all right.
Whatever it is.
Okay, I think you've
I'm done.
I think the guy's clip was a little long, but you've totally debunked the story, period.
And it's sad that it takes you and I to bring some clarity to this stupid situation, because the meme is out there.
It's only bringing clarity to the listeners and producers of the No Agenda show. The public at large will still be fed the crap that this guy's delivered.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what I don't get is that the government there's something about the government going after this guy was for some other reason. Because he's trying to panic the public. It's like yelling fire in a theater.
Well,
that's the only thing I can think of, because that's what it's like. He's making it sound as though these planes are unsafe.
Yeah. Which would be a psychological operation.
Well, it would also be a violation of a number of laws.
Yeah, but he's not in jail, so you've got to think, maybe this whole thing was a setup. Maybe he found a new client after all.
Yeah, a public relations agency.
Yeah.
And they're doing this to slam somebody. I don't know who.
I'm done.
It could be they're slamming Delta.
It was United, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know, but I'm probably that was the segue throw.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yes. You're not actually going to talk about that, are you?
Well, I think we should put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, I got it already.
To the Delta, because I thought it was just a joke that the company. There's a. Let me. I'll back a little backstory. There on YouTube, there is the Delta in-flight video, or one of them, and it's a joke video. They've done joke videos before, but nothing so outrageous as this.
It's the entire. It's your safety briefing that they play on the plane.
Briefing, and it's all bull crap, and it's all joke. Oh, this is so funny.
Yeah,
you know, like put this stuff under the seat, and they have a talking orange, and there's a lot of animations and craziness, and a lot of memes, a lot of corny memes. It's very corny. And then I just thought this was something that somebody did. And then you tell me in the email that you saw the video
on the flight over.
The flight, 2 versions of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen multiple versions of this, at least 2. Yeah.
so that you people that listen to this show.
And there's one of them is funny where they have the pilot.
Look at these.
They have the pilot sitting up front, and this at the very end, like we're getting ready for takeoff, and the pilot turns around, and it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's a throwback to callback to
the movie.
To the movie.
Yeah,
some of that. Meanwhile, the real scary thing about aviation security, which I saw, I did catch some C-SPAN. They were talking, this was in one of those congressional hearings with John Roth. He is the Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security. And the Inspector General's job is to make sure that everything's running appropriately and that the department is doing the best they can.
And they're not wasting taxpayers' money.
Yes, and not... So the question comes up about the security badges and IDs and who has them, and particularly when it comes to TSOs, Transportation Security Officers, anybody else, but mainly the Department of Homeland Security has massive amounts of people. How many do they have? Like 400,000 or 500,000 people working for them?
Yeah,
something
400,000 comes to mind.
And so here is, I don't know if I have the question on here, about background checks of everyone who has one of these security passes, which allows you access to secured areas of airports. Now, it was always my understanding that these agents, certainly the TSOs, that they would have background checks. Is that not what you thought?
Gina Smith, who is the editor of the and a new domain.com, which is just a simple...
I thought it was .net.
Oh, it's also, I think they have .com now, but a new domain.net for sure. But I think they do have, I think they got the other one.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. She, if anybody's a writer for that small but important publication, she does background checks on everybody. She's an editor, because you can do online, there's background check companies. It costs a little bit of money. But you should do background checks. So I don't see why the government wouldn't have background checks on somebody carrying a gun.
Well, it seems that if you're going to have people who are in charge of making sure terrorists...
And they have a badge.
And the terrorists do not get into secured areas and, God forbid, aircraft, I think it would be handy to have a background check on these people, because otherwise they might have one of their buddies slip through. That's what it seems like to me.
Mr. Roth,
how hard can it be?
How hard can it be? Well, apparently, it's a massive challenge.
Mr. Roth, we're spending mega billions now for security at the airports. When you add it all together, are we getting a bang for our bucks?
I think there's significant room for improvement. It is a massive task. I mean, when you talk about, for example, security background checks on individuals that hold the passes to the secure areas, you're talking about 3.7 million people that you would have to give a background check for. This is a massive, massive challenge. Can TSA tighten up? Absolutely. And the reports that we have written over the course of the years, I think, show there are areas where they can tighten up. But we need to understand the sort of scope and significance of the problem that TSA faces.
So the congressman, or maybe it was a senator, talks of mega billions, which boggles my mind. This guy is allowed to
gajillions.
He should. Well, mega billions would be $1 trillion, because that would be 1,000
yeah, it would
billion.
Be $1 trillion, because
$1 trillion
mega is 1,000. Yeah, absolutely.
And this crap hole says, well, that's a massive undertaking. We can't be like doing background checks on everybody who has a badge. There's room for improvement. This is all... There's your security theater. It's just, we're not safe. We're not safe.
We're safe because there's nothing going on.
Well, there's that.
That's how we're safe. It's all bullcrap. There's nothing going on. There's no threats.
ISIS.
There's no lurking guys with hiring children to do suicide bombings. It's not like the NCIS show. It's all bullcrap, and it's being fed to us just every day. I don't see things happening.
Ow! ISIS. ISIS. I feel good.
And for all practical purposes, we're on lockdown.
Yeah, lockdown. Yeah.
We're on lockdown. You can't do anything.
Yeah, lockdown. You do. I got plenty of more.
I want to say something. Coble had something to say. I was worried I'm going to say stuff that I shouldn't be talking about. Yeah. But this one I thought was I wanted to talk about. I'm going to talk about. He noticed something, and I've noticed this. What happened to all the lawsuits that were coming out of the RIAA and MPAA that were capturing all the attention? What happened to those? Did everyone just stop doing them? Did people stop pirating music and movies?
I don't know,
because I've noticed this too. And one of the ideas, of course, is the old idea of you make a big fuss about busting some grandma and finding her $250,000, and then everyone gets really shook up, and then they say, "I'm not going to take any music."
I think I can answer this. I think I can answer it. The reason why, because I can't speak for the MPAA, I can speak for the RIAA, which is the Recording Industry Association of America. And this is more for music pirating. I believe that we're in a spot now where we have Spotify, and there's a couple others, but mainly Spotify, where every single record executive, and probably insiders at the RIAA and their lawyers all hold Class A stock in Spotify. And this is going to be a huge IPO. Everybody's going to make out like bandits. Screw the artists, screw the writers, screw the composers. And all they're doing is trying to hype this up. This is more like a tech news report. Apparently, Spotify is now going to add video and podcasts, and they want to become your single source destination, which is a sure sign that they're not making any money. We know they're not. They're losing money. And they will never be permitted to make a lot of profit. That's just not how the entertainment business works. If you're making profit, we're going to raise the price of our licensing. It's just how it works. Look at Pandora. I don't think they've ever made a profit, and they're public. Everyone's quiet because they just want this thing to be built up into, and this will be what is the valuation of Spotify right now? And by the way, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, by the way. I want people to understand how valuations work. Maybe you could explain that, John, while I look up the current valuation of Spotify.
Valuations work on the basis of investments and what percentage of the company they get at each stage of the investment process. So in the final stages of the investment process, if somebody invests $1 million and they get some 0.5% of the company, let's say, and then this company has X amount of stock, and the other guys are already in, and you buy your 0.5% of or say 1% of the company, and you drop 10 million, let's say, and you multiply that by the number of shares, or you multiply, in the case of this, by a factor of 10, and say you invest $100 million for 10% of the company at the end, which is you're not going to get. But you multiply that by 10 because it's 10%, that makes the company worth $1 billion.
Goldman Sachs and Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund invested $400 million in April into Spotify. The valuation they did that at, based upon what you explained perfectly, is $8.4 billion.
Right. That would be right.
And, so is the company really worth that? Well, you have to say yes, because that is what the valuation is.
That's what the market says.
It's what the market bears. And the market, of course, is
never wrong.
But everyone's going to pop out at the IPO, and no one will care. It's like Twitter. Twitter is... What is left of Twitter is nothing. It's valueless for the investors at this point. Not the ones that got out on the IPO. The same as Pandora.
Actually, Twitter does have a market cap. That's the other thing. It becomes what the valuation.
They have a market cap, but they don't
once you go public, then it's not valuation, it's market cap, which is the value of the stock.
Yeah, and they
multiply by the number of shares and minus debt, so you can get enterprise value.
Right,
but then you get a number.
But they have a negative earnings per share. They're losing money. They're just losing money.
It has nothing to do with market cap.
No, it does not.
You could be losing your butt.
Well, market cap is what is looked at for a purchase mainly.
Yeah, because that's what you'd have to pay for it if you bought their stock up.
Exactly. So I think that is the reason. I can't speak for the Motion Picture Association of America. But I think with the RIAA, the people who are running the show, the labels, the actual label presidents, who are gangsters. It's a gangster business. It's never really changed. They understand one thing and one thing only: money.
Well, it doesn't quite explain it to me why this has gotten so quiet.
Well, we know the RIAA lawsuit thing was a racket. In fact, got to the point where it's the same thing. Remember the guy who's no longer my friend, when I broke the story that he had the sex videos that he was making, and then the law firm would just call up. They just have a boiler room. They call people up. Well, looks like you downloaded trannies on acid. Do you want us to publish this, or do you want to pay us $5,000 now?
Oh, that was a good bit.
And that's a
trannies on acid.
I'm sorry, I just made it up.
Trannies on acid.
If it doesn't exist, it should.
It should. You're right.
This is why
we got to get a replay of those old '60s movies where there's all these, phony baloney psychedelic effects.
The best podcast in the universe.
That's why we're that. For tranniesonacid.com.
Talking about being on acid, what is that? Mimi keeps harping on us, talking about this new drug. We talked about it on the
a new drug
DH Unplugged show. Flakka or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Flakka. Yeah, it's another variant of spice or...
I guess it's responsible for a lot of people. It heats your body up to sometimes so high that you have to strip your clothes off and run down the street.
And run naked and people...
Yeah, and I think a lot of the running naked may result from people trying this new drug, which is also cheap and dangerous. Now, I think the LAX incident, which I have a clip of, which became top of the news on a couple of the networks, not all of them, I think this is an example of that drug because of the punchline at the end of this story.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with a frightening scene for passengers waiting to board planes at LAX Airport in Los Angeles. A suspect blasting through security, making it all the way to the gate, security chasing him. Here are the moments they pull out the tasers to knock the man to the ground. Passengers holding their hands to their faces, mothers protecting their children. Tonight, authorities are now being credited with those officers and that fast work at the airport, which has had scares before. And ABC's Nick Watt leading us off from Los Angeles.
It unfolded in just seconds. Police tasing that man with crowds of stunned passengers looking on. Trouble beginning at 11 a.m. as the man went through airport security.
Apparently the man became uncooperative at this TSA security checkpoint. Officers recalled he pushed past them into the terminal.
Sean Dimmond waiting for his flight, witnessing it all.
I heard a man screaming and yelling. I turned around. There was a uniformed officer following a man. He was yelling at the man to stop. The man refused. Plainclothes officer then showed up, and they tasered the guy in the back.
Travelers terrified. This one girl cowering in her mother's arms. The scene, panic, as the man is subdued.
He had a strange smile on his face the entire time.
I like the part where...
He had a strange smile on his face the entire time.
Yeah.
Drugs.
He was stoned, of course. It's not new, this Flakka. It's been around. It's just the variations of this homebrew stuff. I don't know if... I thought more interesting was the news that came out about the new way to synthesize heroin without poppies.
What?
Yeah, here it is. New York Times. Yeah, New York Times. This is a way to brew morphine raises concerns over regulation. So then they go all over the world. The heavy heads of opium poppies are nodding gracefully in the wind, protected by the American soldiers in Afghanistan. They fill millions of acres in Afghanistan, Myanmar, Laos, and elsewhere. Their payload, the milky opium juice. I love that line. The milky opium juice, carefully scraped off the seed pods, yields morphine, an excellent painkiller, easily refined into heroin. But very soon, perhaps within a year, the poppy will no longer be the only way to produce heroin's raw ingredient. It will be possible for drug companies or drug traffickers to brew it in yeast genetically modified to turn sugar into morphine.
Wow.
Almost all the essential steps have been worked out in the last 7 years. A final missing step was published Monday in the journal Nature Chemical Biology. And And there's an entire white paper on this. An enzyme-coupled biosensor enables S-reticulin production in yeast from glucose. Now, I'm not a chemist, so I don't know if this actually is something you can do yourself. But that's the New York Times, so you have to...
There's actually nothing you can do in a factory that you can't do yourself.
There you go.
Everything scales down to the kitchen.
So where does this leave us?
We just need the distillation gear and all the other stuff. It's all available.
So if this is true, this is revolutionary.
If you want to call it that.
We won't need any more wars. What will we do?
I don't know what we'll do.
What will we do for wars? There'll be no point for being in Afghanistan. It's going to ruin the economy of several nations.
And probably screw up the CIA's black budget.
It's going to, cocaine is more their thing. And I don't think
they were running the heroin, and they're getting their money from that.
It's all good. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, they did from South America. It's a lot of cocaine coming up.
Well, probably.
In fact,
Mexico is where a lot of it comes from, and heroin. Yeah. Speaking of,
hold on.
You okay?
Oh, damn it.
You okay?
Well, it was a moth.
Amen. Fist bump.
A moth in the studio. What I don't want.
What will we do about the war on drugs? Do we have to just...
Well, I was going to talk about Rand Paul.
Oh, his filibuster.
I want to just... This is not necessarily inside information or something I absolutely know, but there's certain protocols to using cocaine.
Okay. You are an expert at detecting people who are on coke.
Well, who I suspect are on coke, or they may be people that use coke and they develop all these patterns of habit.
Yeah, that's all we talk about after the show is who's on coke.
We don't.
Okay, we don't.
So one of the things is the constant going to the nose to either shake extra flakes of coke that you couldn't get all the way down into your mucous membranes, and so you're constantly bumping your nose, or you're doing something to your nose, or you're sniffing, and you're pushing your nose, and you're beating your nose, and you're always constantly going to your nose.
Also known as booger sugar.
I never, maybe. Whatever the case, and I said it there, Rand Paul does this to an extreme. And he was filibustering the other day, and I'm thinking, well, what better time to use cocaine than if you're filibustering? But I don't know that he used it, but he was doing all this nose stuff. And I just want to make this point. If you have the sniffles, which coke users tend to have all the time, and of course, they also start talking like this after a while because they can't breathe it all through their nose, and so they have this funny voice.
And they can't get an erection. There's no erection possible.
If you have the sniffles, you do something that a cocaine user would never do. You blow your nose into a handkerchief.
What a waste!
And you'll never see these guys doing that. I mean, I have Kleenex all over the place.
Me too.
I'm blowing my nose constantly if I find some Kleenex, I grab it and I blow my nose. And these guys never do that. They never blow their nose.
I have a problem with your theory, though.
Okay.
I have worked with people I know were doing cocaine. I won't mention any names. David Hasselhoff. But the shoot I was on with him, the director had to time our breaks with his bumps. Hey, David, maybe you need to go, maybe just go to the restroom for a minute, have a little, and it was at least every 40, 45 minutes. If you're doing a filibuster for 8 hours.
Oh, yeah, no, you have to be.
That's not going to work, is it?
No. Although it could. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with some of these guys. Maybe he's, I don't know.
No, I don't think it's a good theory.
Well, I'm not saying one way or the other. He wasn't up that long. I mean, he wasn't up for hours and hours.
He was up for, last night he was up for 8 hours.
Well, okay. Well, maybe I'm wrong about this. All I can tell you is that he seems to be hitting his nose a little more than I'd like.
Okay.
Well, let's listen to actually a good part, I think. I listened to a lot of it. It's mostly, and sometimes he gets crazy. He says nutty things that make no sense or completely illogical. But he had a moment here that I thought was worth, it's a little long, but I think it's a good little civics lecture for the people out there that try to understand what's going on politically in the United States.
Because you've allowed too much power to gravitate to one body, and you haven't divided the power.
The division of power was one of the, if not the most important, one of the most important things we got from our founding fathers. But we're having this collapse of the separation of powers. It's getting to be where there's an ancillary body, which is Congress, and then there's the executive branch, the behemoth, the Leviathan. The executive branch is so large that really the most important laws in the land are being written by bureaucrats that no one elects and no one can unelect. In an average year, there are over 200 regulations that will cost the economy $100 million apiece. We don't vote on any of them. You vote indirectly for the president, but I think that's so indirect that it's a real problem. And I think what we have now is we have an executive branch that legislates. And so the collapse of the separation of powers is it's a collapse of the equilibrium. And this equilibrium is what kept power in check. And when I think who's to blame for this, it isn't one party, it's really both parties. When we have a Republican in office, Republicans tend to forgive a Republican president and give them more power. When we have a Democrat in office, the Democrats tend to forgive a Democrat and give the Democrat more power. A more honest sort of approach to this, or a more, I think, statesman-like approach to this, would be that if we were able to have both parties stand up as a body, and if there were pride in the institution of Congress, pride such that we were jealous of our power, that we were pitting our ambition to keep our power against the ambition of the president, regardless of the president's party affiliation, then we might have a chance.
He is actually, I'm sorry, not actually, he is citing, I think it was a GAO report that came up with this $100 billion number of all of the regulations that it was actually 100 million, I think. 189 rules, price tag of 100 million, but over time until 2030, $80 billion or some crazy amount. And it is indeed regulations that the agencies, and we had the president came up with the new, an executive order specifying regulation. I'd have to look into it again. I've had it in the show notes before. I'm trying to find all of it. But he's right. I agree. The behemoth is just creating. We have these agencies. It's completely out of control. Yes. He was filibustering the Patriot Act. I'm not sure. I presume that it now has not been extended. I haven't checked.
Well, there were also filibusters. There was like a double purpose for this thing. One was to also keep it off the floor, that vote for fast track.
Yes.
So nobody was, it wasn't.
But I have no respect for Rand Paul because he wants backdoors and encryption. He also, I'm sure that he's all in on the USA Freedom Act, which, and I think I should reiterate, or we should reiterate this again, that by stopping the NSA bulk collection of data does not stop the bulk collection of data. It's even better because it is at the telecommunications companies who have indemnity to share that with the government through third parties such as FireEye. So it's only become easier and less transparent to spy. That is really not, I don't think people understand that. Or they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, it's called the Freedom Act, so it must have something to do with giving us freedom.
There was another great quote where maybe that was part of Rand Paul's. Someone said that as long as it has a great name, it'll pass. It doesn't matter. You call it Patriot Act. You call it.
You would vote against the Freedom Act,
Food Security Act.
You would vote against the Patriot Act.
Are you not a patriot? Just a quick throwaway. While there is so much to report on in the universe, so much in the world, so much going on, we have just crazy things happening in the world. What does, without fail, every single network in the United States of America focus on? And I saw it certainly in Dutch and German newspapers as well.
No sitting president has done what this sitting president did today.
What could it be?
Took a shit?
We'll have the story coming up.
Oh, that's a tease.
Sitting president. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's a tease if I've ever heard one.
President Obama test drove his own personal Twitter account today. In his first tweet, he wrote, "Hello, Twitter. It's Barack. Really? 6 years in, they're finally giving me my own account. It's called POTUS, which is the acronym for President of the United States.
Oh, is it?
And he already has well over 1 million followers, including former POTUS Bill Clinton, who wondered, does that username stay with the office? Hashtag asking for a friend."
How funny that was. Wow, that was fantastic. Meanwhile,
Barack had a Twitter account. It was the official White House account, and he would tweet. And the tweets were always marked
with B-O.
With B-O at the end. So it's not as though this is his first tweet. It's
why it's a complete throwaway.
He's got a new account. That's what he's got.
Yeah, he needed to promote the account. That's all that this is about. But it has affected his speech. Once you put the guy on Twitter,
down 140 characters.
No, he's talking all crazy. Listen to this.
Long sentences for nonviolent drug crimes that end up devastating communities. We can't then ask the police to be the ones to solve the problem.
Did he say axe?
He said axe.
We can't then ask the police.
He said axe.
What is up with that? The president of the United States said axe.
Yeah, he did.
We can't then ask the police.
And this is bad. Now it's time to panic.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Let me axe you, John.
Axe for your support.
We've been axing for your support. We should have an axe donation level.
We should. We'll do some numerology and come up with something.
This man is a piece of... Maybe it's the other Obama.
It could be. He hasn't been in the limelight for a while. Zach Manning has been in Canton, Georgia, $127. He does say, I was called out on show 721 as a douchebag.
Oh, no.
And I want to reverse my douchebag check with 127 to reverse the 721. Let it be known that every douchebag check can be reversed. Get off your ass and change your direction.
And we should do a douchebag.
De-douching.
Yeah, well, douchebag check first, and then we'll do
douchebag check, then de-douching, and then
You've been de-douched.
All right, that's good enough, actually.
I agree.
Sir Brian Barrow and Royal Wootton Bassett, home of the Bassett Hounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the UK. Scott Niswander in Waterville, Ohio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alan Cavido III in Midlothian, Virginia, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to make it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 day, Alexander Sulzberger from let's see, what is it? Ulster, Deutschland, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wait a minute, is that...
And he says he's great. Oh, he's actually in Ghana. This guy's in Accra. Greg Zachary's friend in Ghana, West Africa, and DSC plus NAS listener since day one.
Oh.
And he's one of the... he's the one that we talked about before.
Is that...
Zachary's the professor at ASU who hates our show. This is the only way to put it.
Yeah, all right.
Barry, I mean, I'm friends with him, but he hates the show. And I know why he hates the show. Is because it actually is a show.
It's me.
He can't get a show himself. Baron Holksbergen in Zaandam, Netherlands, 11111.
He's the Baron of the Alps.
Jamie or James, one of the two, in Plano, Texas. And these were just put in by this may have been put in by me, so it's James in Plano, Texas, 11111. Christopher Cornwell in Hamtramck, if that's truly the name of a city, $100 in Michigan. He's got a birthday thing coming up. He's a douchebag. Give him a de-douching.
No, of course.
You've been de-douched.
Chris Tengesdal in Norway, $100.
Christian Stadt.
And he thanks us for putting all this work. He says, sadly, I started driving to work instead of taking the bus. I start driving to work instead of taking the bus. It takes my commute from 35 minutes away down to 15.
Go back to the bus.
Enjoy the show.
Go back to the bus and send the savings to us.
Yes.
Hop on the bus, Gus. Making new plans, Stan.
Jack. Melanie Muldowney in Worcestershire, UK. $100.
She has a douchebag call out.
Oh, it's a douchebag call out. D-douche and a douchebag call out for Timmy. Douchebag. Keep up the great work.
Right.
From Rob.
I'll give her a D-douche.
You've been D-douched.
What? Yeah, we make sure that's aimed at Rob, not Timmy.
No, obviously.
Michael Pulowski in East Lansing, Michigan, $92.66.
I think you missed Peter McConnell.
Peter McConnell in Parts Unknown, $94.95. Maxim Rudolph in Ljubljana, Slovenia, $80. It's always good to have Slovenians coming in. And I hope that Slovenians, I would say it's probably a good idea to get your fellow Slovenians to donate. It's a good show to listen to learn English. That's the only thing I can say. Mathieu Kelly in Gatineau, Quebec, $75. He's a regular. I think he must be a knight.
Yes, I believe he is, Sir Mathieu.
I think he is Sir Mathieu. Frank Pugh in Tallahassee, Florida, $75. Sir Brian Kobe, the Knight of Hams, $73.73.
73s?
73s to you, Brian. Pat Till in Montreal, Quebec, $72.30. Brad.
That's Tilly.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Till.
Oh, Tilly.
It's all right. Tilly.
Brad Alberton in Hookerton, North Carolina, 6933. Great name for a city.
Yeah, he's got a birthday call out.
Pixel Maestro Productions in San Leandro, California, 6666. That's right down the street from me. Heather Simpkin in Henley-on-Thames, Oxfordshire, UK, says, love, Heather.
Send photos.
Dame Tanya Wyman, our buddy Knight in New York City,
a dame.
5678.
It's a dame.
She sent a note in.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's a little note. She's got to send a card, some sort of card. Some fascist. Not sure who that is.
Fascist?
Glad to hear sorry to hear donations are down. Come on, boners. This is the best podcast in the universe. Doing my part. All the best. Baroness. That's right. She's Baroness of Manhattan. Let's not forget. Where was I? There it is. Sir Luke of London, 5548. He's obviously in London and not London, Canada. London, UK. Dean Roker, 5510. Nicola Aristavi, one of the two. 5510. I always thought Nicola was a great name. Jake Kenyon in Morayfield, Queensland, 5454. Not quite sure what that is. We have a birthday for him. Or his dad. Christopher Bowden in Cordova, Indiana, 5150. Aaron Arnold in Lost Wages, Nevada, 5115. Sir Alexander Sukachev, I believe, Parts Unknown, 5115. I think it's in Russia.
He's from Moscow.
Moscow. I got blanks. David Helm in Fargo, North Dakota, 5115. Arthur Goebbels in Gobetz in Zaandam. You guys should have a meetup in Zaandam. 5115 is two of you.
Yeah.
Chris Perry. Where's Zaandam?
It's not far from Amsterdam.
Oh, okay. It's nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Perry in Silver Spring, Maryland, 5115. Vitriolic in Penrith, New South Wales, 5115. Sir Charles Walters in Schaumburg, Illinois, 5115. Sir Kevin Payne, Richmond, Virginia, 5069. And finally, these are $50 donors. Andy Kluber in Terre Haute, Indiana. E. Ponfort in Haarlem, Netherlands. Steve Winslow in Bristol, Avon, UK. I got a lot of Brits today. And a lot of Dutch. Anonymous in Milton, Ontario, Canada. James Butcher in Dalwallanu, Australia. Andrew Haverson in Gravenhurst, Ontario, Canada. Michael Gates in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Simon Lingshed.
Lingshed. I think it would be
Lingshed. Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
from
and he's in Denmark somewhere in Denmark. And finally, our friend Sir Mark Tanner in Whittier, California, just down the street from me if I was in L.A., 50. And that concludes our donation segment for show 723.
We had a make good for
we do have a make good read.
Steve Marchi.
Yeah, who gets his Black Knighthood today.
Yes, he does. In Morning Gents, seems like my note did make it with my PayPal donation on May 8th. Not surprised. Well, with that said, I want to point out, according to my calculations, okay, he's got a calculation.
Down to ITM.
First and foremost, thank you for your courage. If it weren't for your indispensable media deconstruction and analysis, I'm not sure where I would be. I used to spend quite a bit of time watching everyone's favorite purveyor of water filters, Seed Vault 1776 belt buckles. I got to get me one of those.
I forgot about the belt buckles.
Hold on a second. Would you read it?
Over the last year, you two have both taught me to actually listen to what is being said and break it down for myself. And for that, I'm very grateful. My most recent donation should put me 33 cents over the knighthood level. If I may, I would like to be named Sir Steve Marchi, Paladin of the Light.
Is that on the list here? Yes, it is. Okay, yes, it is.
With that said, I'm going to need to call out a few of my friends as douchebags again. Ready? Ready with the button?
I'm ready with the button.
First and foremost is Pete.
Douchebag.
He attempted to hit me in the mouth a few times, and thankfully the last one stuck. It's time to get that knighthood, Pete. And the rest of the douchebags, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Douchebag.
Jack.
Douchebag.
And Eric.
Douchebag.
Time to donate to the show. One final request. Would love an AJ wake up. I demand you break your conditioning, followed by an It's Real LGY and some karma for the family and the rest of No Agenda listeners. John and Adam, keep up the remarkable work.
No, thank you very much. We try very hard.
Wake up! I demand you break your conditioning. It's real. It's real. It's real.
You've got karma.
Did I tell you I saw him the other day? Did I tell you this?
I believe you told me, but it wasn't
on the show. Yeah, I walked into Bar Chi, which is the hole-in-the-wall sushi place that nobody knows about, but apparently everybody does. And as I walk in the door to head to the bar, where I always have my lychee martini, and it's boom, he's right there. And it was strange. He was oh my God, it's him. It's bigger than life. And I wanted to say hello. He was on
the big head.
Yes. And he was on the phone. He was, I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I sat down and I was trying to look in the mirror of the bar behind me because when he was off the phone, so I just wanted to say, hey, how you doing? It's real. I demand you change your conditioning. You break your conditioning. But then I guess his wife came back. He was still on the phone. They stood up together. He was on the phone the whole time and they walked out. So, but I certainly would have said hello. I don't think
a teenager.
Yeah, strange.
Teenage girl.
Yeah, no.
He's probably lining up some new seeds.
It's possible. Please support us for Sunday's show. Come on, people.
Dvorak.org/NA. It's your birthday.
And Christopher Cornwell says happy birthday to his brother Bob Cornwell, celebrated on the 20th, which was my mom's birthday as well. Brad Albritton says happy birthday to his brother Ryan, who's turning the magic number 33. Jake Kenyon says happy birthday to his daddy Jeff. He turned 54 yesterday. And finally, Catherine Lowe is celebrating her day today. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
So you got two nightings. If we could have James Butcher here on the podium, and of course Steve Marchi. And I brought this one with me. And you're at home, so...
Ooh, you brought the portable.
I did. Thank you. There's yours. Steve Marchi, James Butcher, both of you have supported the best podcast in the universe. They wanted $1,000 or more. Steve Marchi, you have done it under the guise in the darkness of night, so you get a special title, and I hereby pronouncicate the Black Knight, Sir Steve Marchi, Paladin of the Light, and James Butcher, Sir James of Central Wheat Belt. For you, gentlemen, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Drama and DMT, Pork Ribs and Pale Ale, Johnny Walker Green Label. We got 3 geishas and a bucket of fried chicken, vodka and vanilla, sparkling cider and escorts, and mutton and mead. Head on over to noagendanation.com/rings. We can get those out to you ASAP. We're working on that for you, Fry.
Yeah, Amy Goodman's vocal fry is over.
It's getting bad.
It's really bad. It's almost as though she can't talk.
How about some Agenda 21 stuff?
Oh, okay.
Always love some Agenda 21 stuff. First, Bill Nye the climate guy. I'm sorry, science guy. Bill Nye the climate guy was paid $35,000 for the commencement speech at Rutgers University. This is, of course, he's sending these young, impressionable minds on their journey into society and a lifelong of debt burden hanging off of their shoulders, certainly from Rutgers. I have a little bit of the commencement speech, which one of our producers recorded. I don't know if it's audible enough. I was able to hear it okay.
I'll let you know.
And, of course, he's talking about climate denial, etc.
Because we all share the air. And so that's why our climate is changing. Denying this is in no one's best interest. If you know any climate deniers, I'm sorry. But just try asking this question. Do you believe that it's a conspiracy of healthcare professionals that is duping the world into believing that cigarette smoking causes cancer? The scientific consensus on climate change is at least as strong as the consensus on smoking. Climate change is a real deal. So, hey, deniers, cut it out. Let's get to work.
Let's get to work, deniers.
And idiot students cheer him.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, or BTW.
He says, by the way, or BTW, as all the hip kids say.
That's what they mean.
What an idiot.
That's what BTW means. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution stipulates that Congress shall promote the progress of science and the useful arts.
That was interesting. Article 1, what do you say? Section 8? Congress shall promote the useful... I should look that up. Useful application of science and the arts.
Yeah.
It's all right. I don't see
the same as STEM.
No.
All
right. Hold on.
Well, science is in.
Science. I have a couple more.
Okay. You have the Obama stuff.
Yeah, of course I've got the Obama stuff.
I got the best. You got to let me run mine first.
Okay.
Just one.
All right. Obama and Coast Guard, that one?
Well, I got two.
I know. You said just one. So which one do you want?
No, I don't want that. Let's see where I can't see where they are.
It says Obama and Coast Guard 2.
Oh, yeah, I don't want two.
You want one? I
want one.
Hello.
President Obama today issued a warning to the newest members of the U.S. Coast Guard. He says denying climate change amounts to a dereliction of duty. Patty Colhane reports now from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Patty.
It's typical in the U.S. for graduation speeches to have a cheerful, even inspirational tone.
Class of 2015, ahoy!
After the president addressed the graduates at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, they did the traditional throwing of their caps in celebration, but the president's speech gave them less to cheer about.
The levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere are now higher than they have been in 800,000 years.
U.S. President Barack Obama arguing here that global warming is a threat to national security and taking aim at Republicans who say climate change isn't happening.
Yeah, that was good. I do have that, of course.
I like the dereliction of duty. What a scumbag.
I have a little more here. There's two clips.
So if you're a denialist in the Coast Guard, you're a derelict.
Derelict of duty, yeah. You should be thrown in the brig.
You could be court-martialed
in
the brig.
Exactly.
Globally, we could see a rise in climate change refugees. And I guarantee you the Coast Guard will have to respond. Elsewhere, more intense droughts will exacerbate shortages of water and food.
Hey, hold on a second. What? Well, how's the Coast Guard have to? Where are they going to be coming from that the Coast Guard's going to get involved in? North, South America, Costa Rica? There's no problem. They got plenty of, water.
Citizen, do you question the president when he says he guarantees?
Come over from Africa and they're going to come all the way across the Atlantic to hit the shores here?
Citizen Dvorak, are you questioning the president when he says he guarantees it? I don't think I heard you question the commander-in-chief when he says he guarantees
Increased competition for resources, and create the potential for mass migrations and new tensions, all of which is why the Pentagon calls climate change a threat multiplier. Understand, climate change did not cause the conflicts we see around the world.
Wait, something important to mention about this. Throughout his entire speech, and I watched the whole thing, which is why I have 2 clips, he consistently says climate change. And he is not lying. Climate change is indeed changing the world. It always has. He never, to my recollection in this commencement speech, I don't think he ever said man-made climate change, man-made global warming. He just says climate change. So I'm okay with what he's saying.
But we know what he means.
Yeah, but no one can ever go back and say you said.
Well, no, he does that. He's really good at that. That way he can say, well, I didn't say that. No, I was just saying climate change. I didn't say anything.
So of course, this is what, we already heard this from, who's that douchebag from the New York Times who did that documentary, The Columnist.
Which douchebag?
Yeah, right. The one with the mustache, with the round head.
Tom.
Yeah, what's his name?
Friedman.
Yeah, Friedman. This is his thing, and the president's taking this now.
The conflicts we see around the world. Yet what we also know is that severe drought helped to create the instability in Nigeria that was exploited by the terrorist group Boko Haram. It's now believed that drought and crop failures and high food prices helped fuel the early unrest in Syria, which descended into civil war in the heart of the Middle East.
Okay.
So increasingly, our military and our combatant command, our services, including the Coast Guard, will need to factor climate change into plans and operations because you need to be ready.
Yeah. And then the other clip probably includes that 800,000, so I'll leave that. But it's, again, the 15 years, the most warmest. It's all now. It's all happening. And, now we should play it because he says it's true. It's fact. There's no denying it. The science is more than in.
What about the 30,000 scientists who signed the document that were all bona fide?
That's your 2%.
Climate change will impact every country on the planet. No nation is immune. So I'm here today to say that climate change constitutes a serious threat to global security, an immediate risk to our national security. And make no mistake, it will impact how our military defends our country. And so we need to act, and we need to act now.
Yeah.
The science is indisputable.
Indisputable. That's the new one. It's indisputable.
Oh, that's a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me write
Fossil
that down.
fuels we burn release carbon dioxide, which traps heat. And the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere are now higher than they have been in 800,000 years.
I can't get enough of it. That's right, because we have measurements.
Yeah.
The planet is getting warmer.
I'd like to know what the numbers were for 792,000 years ago at noon.
Oh, you're such a Republican.
14 of the 15 hottest years on record have been in the past 15 years.
Except
that's a lie.
That's a lie. We know NASA says it's possibly 35% kind of. We're not sure.
1997 was the hottest year.
Right.
It's been cooling.
Already, today, in Miami and Charleston, streets now flood at high tide.
Well, good. Surfing.
Something to wash the damn streets.
Along our coasts, thousands of miles of highways and roads, railways, energy facilities.
Thousands of miles.
Are all vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
We have listeners in Charleston. Are you telling me, you Charleston producer, that your streets are flooded at high tides routinely?
Yep, I'm sure it is.
It's estimated that
I want to hear from our producers.
A further increase in sea level of just 1 foot by the end of this century could cost our nation $200 billion.
Chucktown, K_K said, I live in Charleston. It's below sea level. Interesting point. Interesting point. Thank you. Let's go back.
Cheat.
Yeah, let's go back. Duh. No wonder.
In Miami and Charleston, streets now flood at high tide.
And Chucktown_K says, it's always flooded when it rains. Always. And I think Chucktown's been around for possibly 800,000 years.
Along our coasts, thousands of miles of highways and roads, railways, energy facilities are all vulnerable. It's estimated that a further increase in sea level of just 1 foot by the end of this century could cost our nation $200 billion. It's been said of life on the sea.
Yeah, this is my favorite.
The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. The realist adjusts the sails.
Climate change is real.
It's real. It's real. It's real.
Yeah, all righty. Nice.
All right, okay, I got one clip that's got a little factoid in it I have not been able to confirm, and I'd like somebody out there to confirm it for me. And not by telling me about some operation that's under sea level. So this is my clip.
Which clip is it?
It's the 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you wanted us to play number 2. Okay, yo, here we go.
President Obama is calling climate change a threat to the nation's ability to defend itself. He addressed graduates at the U.S. Coast.
Wet bullets.
Wet bullets?
Yeah, you flood the place, the bullets get wet, and they don't fire right.
Let me rewind this clip now. I want to hear what's going on. This is funny.
President Obama is calling climate change a threat to the nation's ability to defend itself. He addressed graduates at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut today, and he cited everything from crop losses that feed conflict to rising sea levels that swamp naval bases.
So I'm here today to say that climate change constitutes a serious threat to global security.
That's right.
What naval bases, although they're naval bases, so they're on the water, have been flooded?
I don't know.
Swamped. What naval base? I'm just wondering. Anybody out there have a naval base for me that because of climate change, it can be directly attributable? I have a view out the window here of the bay, San Francisco Bay, which is hooked to the ocean. So if the ocean goes up, the bay goes up. And there's a mud flat out here, and it's still here. It hasn't changed an inch.
Hold on a second. I have to blow my nose. To blow the coke out. There we go.
But okay.
Yeah. Oh, this is futile, John. It's futile. It's futile for us. It's just funny. I like the 800,000
Well,
years.
there was one little factoid that was on one of the reports, because this report about him giving this speech to the Coast Guard was everywhere. And one report says that of all the nations in the world, only the United States is pretty skeptical about this assertion.
Yeah.
I thought that was a plus.
We have this is definitely part of Agenda 21, where it is being recommended that we eat bugs.
I love bugs.
I caught.
Tastes like poop.
I caught a
never get cricket. Not amusing.
I know crickets are lovely. This was on CNBC. The CEO of a company called Impossible Foods. Impossible Foods. And I just want to play this. This is, of course, this all comes around to climate change and man-made global warming. A little setup of what Impossible Foods is doing as they are creating new kinds of meat that isn't meat, or maybe it's meat. I don't know. They've raised $70 million. And some of the investors will surprise you, or maybe not.
Our challenge was to make a product that would appeal to the hardcore meat lover.
Which is apparently a bad thing now, hardcore meat
the
lover.
Hardcore meat lover, to me, seems like a person that would love meat.
Yeah, correct. The hardcore meat lover would love meat, so we want to give everything to the hardcore meat lover.
I'm reminded of that. This is a kind of tech newsy. I'm reminded there was WordStar when it was the dominant word processor. You probably remember those days.
Yes, I do.
They came out with a word processor. I think it was called Easy, and it didn't use any of the WordStar commands. It was just dumb. And their sales pitch for it was, This is the word processor for people who hate computers.
Huh.
Now, I'm thinking, if they hate computers, they don't give a crap about a word processor. They hate computers. They're not having a computer. These people are hardcore meat eaters. They're not going to eat this crap. They're going to eat New York steak.
Yeah. What
kind of marketing geniuses are out there?
Well, these are professors. And I consider myself to be a meat gobbler.
Our challenge was to make a product that would appeal to the hardcore meat lover. And that's a completely different problem from making a veggie burger.
Yeah,
we wanted to have a product that would deliver all the pleasures that people get from eating meat.
What are the pleasures from eating meat?
I think a lot of it has to do with the texture of the meat and the flavor.
Without any of the baggage, no cholesterol, antibiotics, hormones, E. coli.
I'm not eating meat that's got E. coli.
A true meat lover does. Meat lovers love E. coli and cholesterol and hormones. Yeah.
And so we spent basically, at this point, almost 4 years with a group of now about 70 of really the best scientists in the world. Figuring it out was hard. Making it is actually a relatively simple process. We use...
Now, I want you to listen to what he's saying here and tell me...
I know I'm going to get disgusted.
Simple ingredients from plants that you could pretty much find in your local supermarket, but exactly how we do it, the choices we make, and how we assemble it is
that's a proprietary stuff. And you've raised a lot of money, $70+ million, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us just a couple of the plants that are in there? The main one?
In this particular burger, one of the plants is spinach. We isolate not green stuff, but a key protein that's in spinach leaves.
Wow.
And,
wow, he said. Just Joe Kernan. Wow, this is fantastic.
Not green stuff, but a key protein that's in spinach leaves.
Wow.
And,
I like the way this is going. This is interesting.
Yeah. And
is this done at the molecular level where you re-engineer it? I mean, how does it work?
No, it's not really re-engineering molecules. Every molecule in our burger, let's put it this way, is something found in nature.
He's not actually going to tell us, but in the second one, we will hear who the investors are. You can kind of already guess.
I mean, you've got people that are, like Bill Gates, and then you've got big food companies that are also...
Yeah, Bill Gates and big food companies are invested in this outfit.
So interested at this point in utilizing this. And we're hearing more and more, not just about health concerns, but, I don't know, carbon dioxide-related problems with growing...
Now, wait for the new stats here, John. These are new statistics about the horrible things of meat.
Things like, and I guess... flatulence in cows and all this ridiculous stuff. But.
Well, I think probably by now most people know that animal farming is the single biggest environmental threat in the world today. It's using more than a third of every square inch of land on the planet. That's an area bigger than North and South America combined.
For animal farming.
Just for animal farming, and it's growing rapidly because of the increasing demand in Asia. It uses a third of all the water that's used by humans. It's actually an amount of water that's equivalent to 4,000 glasses of water for every person on Earth every day goes into raising animals.
Okay.
4,000 glasses of water. Cow farts killing.
There's been a lot of these types of
comparisons, water comparisons,
and it's been being thrown at the public at a rapid fire rate. We've been playing clips like this for about a month now, maybe longer, and they're all the same. They're trying to
equate.
They're trying to eliminate livestock, which in many cases is necessary for certain kinds of property or wetlands, or not wetlands, but certain kinds of areas where the grasses. There's a long lecture that the meat companies used to give about how they tamp down the soil and it keeps erosion back and it gets plants started and you have to eat this grass or it gets too tall and catches on fire.
I think it's all connected. There's a J.P. Morgan report that came out. The report was called "The Tragedy of the American Farmer." The Kansas City Fed has warned that farmers are in financial dire straits with the potential for a liquidity crunch for farmers well into 2016. We're being pushed towards, first it's bugs.
Yeah, it's the Soylent Green is what
ultimately we're going to be eating each other. And that is a solution. Nigerian restaurants shut down for serving human flesh. I have a report
I'm surprised they shut them down.
Yeah, it might be really tasty.
It's supposed to taste like pork. That's why in some cultures we're called that eat human flesh it's called long pig.
Oh, what cultures eat human flesh?
Well, I mean, I think New Guinea still does, and I think perhaps some natives in South America probably do. Obviously, in Nigeria,
I'm going to move over to Euroland for a moment. There's important things coming out of there as well. But big tomorrow, I think there's a big referendum coming up in Ireland. Of course, Ireland, very Catholic, and this will be very interesting to watch.
For centuries, the moral authority of the Catholic Church in Ireland was absolute. The faithful here in rural County Limerick still turn out for weekday Mass. But after months of debate ahead of Friday's referendum, a different Ireland has been reflected. An Ireland in which, if the polls are to be believed, voters could choose to write same-sex marriage into Ireland's constitution.
Who would have thought that the first country in the world poised to grant same-sex couples full legal equality in a direct popular vote would be Catholic Ireland? Of course, there's by no means universal consent, and on Friday there'll be fierce resistance from places like this.
A yes vote will be catastrophic for this country because it's going to impact so much on the family.
I only have one beef, and that is about any two men that could adopt a child. I totally object to that part of it.
It's unnatural. It's unnatural for two men to be making love. It's the same with women. I just have no time for that kind of thing.
You're probably these days in a minority in Ireland, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I speak for myself.
It's a time management problem. I'll give it in the morning for that.
In the morning.
Here's what I would like to know. So this referendum is being held tomorrow in Ireland. Now, I have no idea which way it's going to go. But if Ireland votes down gay marriage, I demand, as a user of the products, that Apple pull out of Ireland altogether. And if Tim Cook doesn't, then he's a fake gay.
That's a good one. Yeah, something like that could happen. And Apple, of course, is very dependent on Ireland. I think they put a lot of that. I think they got a lot of their money cashed in over there.
Yeah, it's for the tax.
So they don't have to pay taxes to the public that buys their products.
Precisely.
Well, I got something.
All right.
Okay, here's the one that I thought this was interesting. And to remind people out there, we are all in on the idea that was given to us from somebody else's report that we're setting Iran up to actually build nukes.
Yes. We've been
so
quite
they can
clear
rebelize the area and get everybody into a buying spree to buy weaponry, and then Saudi Arabia and Iran can get into a fight and blow each other up. I was thinking about that today as I was putting these two clips together. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was thinking is that maybe the reason for pushing wind power and all the other alternative energy sources, plus drilling for fracking and doing all this stuff, is to get ourselves ready for an exchange of bombs in the Middle East that destroys the oil fields.
Oh.
That's long-term strategy. It's long-term thinking.
Long-term thinking.
But we'd be ready. We'd be one of the few countries that could probably survive the end of Middle Eastern oil. And if you notice, a lot of the stuff about the oil in this, they're always bitching, we're going to build a terminal. The Keystone Pipeline is going to send oil down to the Gulf so they can ship it out. We demand that all the oil that we produce in the United States only be used in the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to rumblize!
All right.
So I've got these two clips that kind of back up the thesis, because the first one doesn't really... It doesn't sound like a good thing that's going to happen for these negotiations with Iran. Play Iran on nuke inspections.
Islamic State militants seized an ancient city in central Syria today, raising fears they'll destroy Roman ruins. The target was Palmyra, which is famed for its 2,000-year-old temple, theater, and colonnades. Meanwhile, in Iraq, government troops said they fought off an attack near Ramadi as ISIS tries to consolidate gains there.
Iran's supreme leader has laid down a new red line in nuclear talks with world powers. Ayatollah Khamenei spoke at a military academy today and insisted...
Did she say Khamenei?
That's the new guy's name.
Isn't it Khomeini? It's Khamenei?
I think it's Khamenei, and that's the guy who took over.
Ayatollah Khamenei spoke at a military academy today and insisted inspectors will never interview Iran's nuclear scientists.
No wise person in the world would allow that.
They hide their scientists and even keep their names confidential. The rude and shameless enemy expects us to make the way open for them to come here and talk and negotiate with our scientists. Such permission will, under no circumstances, be given.
Khamenei also rejected giving inspectors access to military sites. The nuclear talks are underway in Vienna with a deadline of June 30th.
That doesn't sound promising.
Not at all.
And then part 2 comes up, and this little thing I think is not part of that story, but is part of the big story, which will be the rebelization.
In another development, Iran moved to avert a confrontation at sea with Saudi Arabia. The Tehran government said that it will not send a shipload of humanitarian aid directly to Yemen. Instead, the ship will go to Djibouti for a UN inspection. From there, it would sail to a Yemeni port controlled by Shiite rebels. The Saudis have warned against any effort to send arms to the rebels.
I'm shocked to find out that rebelization's going on here.
This all does not bode well for the area.
And also, well, I was reading a report that once if any of this happens properly, if it all comes through, Iran will be supplying Europe with crude oil once again. You know, we control all of that. It's so obvious to us, I guess. And this Ash Carter guy, he's a piece of work. He is really ramping up the propaganda, which maybe I should remind people that is now legal.
Oh, by the way, I want to correct myself. The Khamenei guy is the supreme leader. It's Rouhani who is the president.
Okay,
who got replaced.
I would say Khomeini. Okay. I want to remind everybody the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed in the 2013 National Defense Authorization Act, which changed the media landscape. The Broadcast Board of Governors now may fund propaganda anywhere in the world, even if it reaches citizens of the United States, which was heretofore verboten. So Hash Carter is really, really big on this propaganda stuff. And I have 2 clips. One, unprecedented. We had, I think this was CNN. This is very, very, and if at face value, you're going to believe what you hear. But to me, it sounds so incredulous, perhaps. So CNN goes on this super Navy flight, which no media has ever been allowed to go on this airplane. But this is the Pegasus something or other that that surveils everything. And now in the Sea of China, and the Chinese are building these man-made islands. They're building them up, and they're building bases. And you're going to hear why I think the whole story is bullcrap. But they did a good job with the setup, as the Chinese are starting to become very scary.
Foreign military aircraft. This is Chinese Navy. You are approaching our military alert zone. Leave immediately.
High above the South China Sea, the radio crackles with a stern warning.
Go!
You go! The source of dispute appears on the horizon seemingly out of nowhere. Islands, man-made by China, hundreds of miles from its coastline.
So when's the last time you went up?
CNN got exclusive access to classified U.S. surveillance flights over the islands.
Classified.
The first time journalists have been allowed on an operational mission by the state-of-the-art P-8A Poseidon.
Yeah, and you think that was just because they didn't want to convey a message?
America's most advanced surveillance and sub-hunting aircraft.
So we've just arrived on station now above the 3 islands that are the targets of today's mission. It's these 3 islands that have been the focus of China's building in the South China Sea over recent years.
China's alarming creation of entirely new territory in the South China Sea is one part of a broader military push that some fear is to challenge U.S. dominance in the region. In a sign of just how valuable China views them, the new islands are already well protected.
There's obviously a lot of surface traffic down there, Chinese warships and Chinese Coast Guard ships.
We heard the proof. The Chinese Navy ordering the P-8 out of the airspace not once, not twice, but 8 times on this mission.
Now, so you heard that at the beginning, and I've never heard a shittier VHF broadcast with that buzz in it and everything. And this is supposed to be Chinese Navy who are yelling on frequency.
This is the Chinese Navy. Please go away quickly.
Please go away quickly.
Like the surveillance videos, the audio of these warnings never before shared with the public. You heard over the intercom, Chinese Navy. This is the Chinese Navy. And what was interesting is that there were also civilian aircraft. There was a Delta flight on that same frequency that when it heard that challenge, it piped into the frequency to say, what's going on? The Chinese Navy then reassuring them. But as the flight crew tells me, that can be a very nerve-wracking experience for civilian aircraft in the area.
Now, I'm sorry. So the Chinese Navy is broadcasting "Go Away, American Military" on the civilian aviation frequencies? Come on. You
Seems
go.
Pretty far-fetched.
And I'll play the beginning again because now you know what it's about. You go.
Foreign military aircraft. This is Chinese Navy. You are approaching our military alert zone. Leave immediately.
High above the South China Sea, the radio crackles with a stern warning.
Go!
You go! American Yankee, go home! All right, so, but...
Well, that may relate to a clip.
Oh, I have two more. It's okay. Good.
This was, I thought, was peculiar. It's a very short clip.
Good.
But I thought it was odd. Mm-hmm. This is the North Korean disinvite.
Okie dokie.
North Korea has canceled an invitation for UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to visit. Pyongyang has not given an official reason for the cancellation.
Ban is in his native South Korea meeting with senior officials. He was supposed to visit the Kaesong factory complex in North Korea. The plant's a cooperative venture between South and North and is the last such major project to be run by both sides.
Did you read the news about Kim Jong-un has now executed more people?
Oh, he's on a rampage.
I have to read this to you. Of course, Daily Mail, who are great at this kind of stuff. Kim Jong-un has continued his ruthless purge of top-ranking officials with another raft of executions, this time over their failure to give soldiers more food. In the latest cull, the North Korean despot is said to have ordered the death of his vice-armed forces minister, So Hong-chan, and several others close to him for not following his orders. Kim recently ordered the execution of his chief defense, Pyongyang Choi, who was understood to have fallen asleep during an overly long meeting. It is reported the unfortunate general, that's back to the guy who was killed by anti-aircraft fire, and now he is killing more people to stay in power. And they have no facts, of course. But the subheadline, Kim Jong-un executed more people using anti-aircraft gun and wild dogs. Yes. So
I like the dogs one.
Let's expose two at one. Now we have my favorite news organization, run by Thomas Freston, set up by Thomas Freston. Tom Freston, famously the CEO of MTV, who I knew quite well, who started his business career in Afghanistan in import-export. You can make up your own story about that. Vice magazine, which now turned into Vice TV, has received unprecedented access to Ash Carter, and now this what's the guy, Shane, the co-founder, Shane the shit. He is on the Secretary of Defense's aircraft, and he's interviewing him, and it's so poorly done. Actually, it's done very well because they have a lot of B-roll. They got more of those tanks doing wheelies and donuts. And they've peppered it with all the great Vice stuff. And at one point, he even talks about how we were embedded with ISIS last year. I mean, it is such propaganda. So it's insulting. And let us play two clips here from Shane the Shit, which is nothing more. I can just see Freston saying, "Hey, let's. We did really well with that whole choose or lose campaign. We can really help you guys propagate a message, and spend a little bit of money and ads on us, and we'll work everything out. And let's have Shane from Vice. Let's have him interview Ash."
I know this is embargoed information, but...
It's embargoed information, but...
I believe that there was a Russian attack on the Pentagon's computer systems recently. I have a few questions about that. A, is that true? B, what was the nature of the attack, and how do we know it's coming from Russia?
Now, what kind of setup is that, John?
Well,
I know
there's a couple of things that should be pointed out.
Yes.
Embargoed information is only embargo to an individual who has agreed to an embargo.
Correct.
If he agreed to an embargo, he wouldn't do this, because you just don't, because you never get another piece of inside information again in your life. You get a bad reputation. So he's assuming that it was embargoed to somebody else, and he found out about it somehow, which is legal to go on and on about, which means it's in the wild. Once it's in the wild, the embargo is over. It's just bullcrap. There's no reason to say that unless you're trying to impress somebody with nonsense.
Or, the viewer. Trying to impress the viewer by saying,
I've got some embargoed information I'm going to tell you.
That's right.
Bullcrap. This is all nonsense. It's nonsense.
I know this is embargoed information, but I believe that there was a Russian attack on the Pentagon's computer systems recently. I have a few questions about that. A, is that true? B, what was the nature of the attack, and how do we know it's coming from Russia?
It is true. It did originate in Russia. All of its motivations are not clear. They did get into a DoD network for a brief time, were detected, expelled.
Do we know why?
No, I don't think we know entirely why, but this can't be good, right? For anybody to be inside of our networks, whatever their motivation, or to be inside of the networks of some of our critical infrastructure protection. So in this case, we did what we're supposed to do, which is find out and take remedial action. But it's kind of an indication of the world in which we live.
Indication. If
this is bull crap. I mean, anyone in the world can just get, there's, I don't know, dozens, maybe hundreds of VPNs that have servers in Russia. And you can go to Russia through the tunnel, and it's all encrypted, and you go and you're for all practical purposes, you're in Russia when you go do something. Could have been a guy in Pennsylvania for all we know. This is meaningless reporting.
I feel if the way this is presented, and if the Secretary of Defense says yes, it originated in Russia, they broke into our network, we should be cyber bombing the shit out of Russia right now. Why aren't we doing anything? What kind of weak pussy are you, Ash?
Because it's bull crap.
Exactly. Part 2.
I was a little bit...
Oops. What happened? Here it is. Part 2. Of course, this all leads up to one thing. We all know what it's about.
We have Iran, we have Iraq, we have ISIS, we have Russia, we have all these problems. Where do you rank cybersecurity in that list?
Well, it's pretty high up there because it affects them all. It cuts through all of them. At the level of actual warfare, all of our weapon systems, our ships, our planes, our tanks, they depend upon networks to function.
Right.
So no point in spending all that money on them if you don't have secure networks. When it comes to terrorism, obviously terrorists use networks. They use networks to communicate among themselves. They use networks to advertise themselves. And we use the networks to combat them, detect them. So all over the whole spectrum, from traditional state-to-state conflict down to these shadow wars that we have in today's world. Cyber pervades all that, and we've got to be good at it if we're going to protect people across that whole spectrum.
When you hear this propaganda that seems so easy, it's actually flabbergasting that douchebag Chris Roberts can't even get a gig. How hard can it be to get a cyber gig? You gotta be.
I know.
You gotta be really stupid.
There's money flying everywhere. Because if you're just an obvious phony, you're not going to be able to get a gig. You have to have written a book like what's his name?
Morell.
Well, not Morell. The guy was really deep into this. The gray-haired guy who is always around. He's always been. He doesn't know anything about computers, but he's like a cyber nutball. And he's
Jeff Jarvis.
No, jeez. All right, never mind.
Here's Mike Morell on cyber.
It was a little bit misunderstood.
Okay.
The point I was trying to make is that all unclassified email systems are extremely vulnerable, right? The one she used was vulnerable. The State Department's unclassified email system that she was supposed to be using, right? That is vulnerable. My personal email system is vulnerable. CIA's unclassified email system is vulnerable. All these unclassified systems are vulnerable. That's the point I was trying to make. We just learned a few weeks ago that there were foreign governments inside President Obama's unclassified email.
Richard Clark.
Dick. Yes, Dick. Dick.
You know what I put into the Google search to get his name? That's all I had to do. This is how deep he is.
Gray hair?
No, Richard Cyber.
Oh, that works.
I came up with the Richard part. I forgot his last name. And there it was. Cyber War, Richard Clark, PDF. I'll have to check that one out.
I have one final topic, but I'd like you to give me whatever you got before we go.
A little what?
Do you have anything else before we go? I have one more topic.
I got charity fraud, which is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. This is the NGO story. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's better stuff. I got. This is a long. So I don't know if we'll save this for the next show, but this is a long package that has so many memes, and you don't know really who's behind it, although it's got to be public relations driven because it's a fairly long file that was on NBC Nightly News.
Well, you're piquing my curiosity now.
Genetic testing.
Okay, this will be our last topic.
It's a question doctors always ask. Do you have a family history of cancer? You might say no, but what if there are cancer genes hidden in your DNA? Tonight, our national correspondent Kate Snow has the story of a woman who accidentally discovered her risk, raising a debate over whether more people should be tested even without a family history.
Let me ask you a question. Does this lead into that company with the newest female billionaire that we talked about, Thorasson, I think is the name of it, with one little droplet of blood, you can detect everything in the world?
No, I don't think so. It does lead to a product.
Okay.
It does lead to a woman who cut her breasts off and had most of her guts removed.
Oh, nice.
Which is a good touch. And it does lead to an unpaid spokesperson being a spokesperson. And it leads to a bunch of it's a lot of roads here.
Yeah, let's listen to it. Let's go.
Robin Carlin never thought she had to worry about her DNA.
I thought I had great genes.
She was active, healthy, had no known family history of cancer. But 5 years ago, her tech-savvy 22-year-old son, Eli, got the results of a consumer DNA test he'd ordered online. They were shocked to learn Eli had an abnormality usually associated with women, a BRCA1 mutation, which dramatically increases the risk of breast and ovarian cancers. Robin got tested and learned she had the mutation too. Her family history had been hidden. She got the mutation from her father and had passed it on to her son. Would your insurance company have covered the test if your son hadn't already taken one?
No, they would not. There are strict criteria for what family history qualifies you, and I did not have that family history.
Robin isn't alone. Half of the women with BRCA mutations would not meet insurance criteria.
If we only offer testing to women who have a family history, we'll miss half of the women with mutations.
Dr. Mary Claire King thinks every woman over 30 who wants a cancer risk test should be able to get one. Until now, those tests have cost thousands. But a new company called Color Genomics has just begun selling a test for breast and ovarian cancer risk for just $249, which includes genetic counseling. Dr. King is an unpaid advisor.
What we're doing is offering women information that empowers them to save their own lives.
But some experts worry the genetic testing business may be growing too fast.
I think it's going to be a bit of the Wild West in the coming years.
Dr. Robert Green says even specialists don't know what every mutation they find means.
We're talking about things which make you a little more likely or sometimes a lot more likely to get a disease, but not necessarily for sure.
Robin Carlin says for her, the risks were clear. Up to 65% of women with a mutation like hers will get breast cancer, and 39% will get ovarian cancer by the time they're 70. Robin made the difficult decision to have a double mastectomy and remove her ovaries and fallopian tubes, all because her son took that genetic test.
Wow. And Charlie Rose had a follow-up.
Tell me about the sexuality. It's in your DNA.
Yes, it's in your DNA. Sexuality is in your DNA. Oh, man, we're lost.
It's a miracle that we're even doing this show.
We should, on Sunday, we'll talk about the new regulations for mandatory vaccinations, which, of course, started in California.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, of course, all good things come from California. And I shall be back at home base in the Crackpot condo.
Fantastic.
Yes. Please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. It's pretty damn important, I think, to keep your No Agenda show on the air.
Yes, we do need a little more help than we got today, especially on the producer level.
Yeah. And we'll have tons of tech news.
Tons of fun.
Tons of fun, tons of tech news. That's right, everybody. Coming to you from Hell's Kitchen in FEMA Region 2 here in the Big Apple. Always nice to visit, get a little energized. In the morning, everybody, my name is Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where I remain, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday right here on your No Agenda.
Al-Shabaab, Al-Shabaab,
We can't then ask the police.
When your voice is that high and contains vocal fry, that's annoying.
I've got information, man. New shit has come to light.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
And her head is gone.
We are here, #America, near our hashtag target. Soon.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA.
Amen. Fist bump.